Good evening and welcome to tonight's regular meeting of the Board of Education. This meeting is called to order at 3:59 p.m. Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Duzon. Ms. Armstrong.
Present.
Dr. O'Hesson. Mrs. Garza.
Present.
Ms. Stewart.
Present.
Mr. Critchfield.
Present. We have a bond presentation. Ms. Azevedo.
Yes, good evening. We have Timothy McLarney from True North here with us this evening to present to the board the survey results regarding the bond measure feasibility. So thank you, Mr. McLarney, for coming forward, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. My pleasure. And good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. I'm Dr. Tim McLarney, president of True North Research, and we are a firm that over the last 2 decades has specialized in working with school districts and other public agencies around the state and using surveys to help them develop a statistically reliable understanding of the communities and the customers that they serve. To date, my business partner and I, working as a 2-person team, have designed and conducted over 1,300 research studies for public agencies, and about half of the work that we do is what we call revenue measure feasibility studies, like what we're going to be talking about here tonight, where the goal is to understand if it's feasible to move forward with some type of bond or tax measure, and if it is feasible, to understand how they may go about aligning that measure in with your community's priorities and ultimately putting in front of them something that they're interested in supporting. We've had a lot of success to date. If you go back to 2008, of the measures that we recommend go to ballot based on our research, 95% have been successful. We've helped our clients raise a little over $35 billion in voter-approved measures at the local level. And so I mention that mainly because as I go through this presentation, I may make references to how the results we're seeing here in Bellflower compared to what we might typically see in other districts, either in the past or this cycle. And I just wanted you to have a sense from the experience base from which I'd be speaking. I also welcome questions from the board as I go or at the end, whichever is your preference. Okay, so got the right button. So before we talk about the results, helpful to take a moment to review the purpose of the study as well as the methodology. In terms of the purpose, as a revenue measure feasibility study, we're really trying to address the 3 bullets you see here on this slide. The first is to answer that basic question of, is it feasible? And what I mean by that is if you as a board were to choose to put a measure on the November ballot, does it have a reasonable chance of success? The answer to that question is not always yes, right? Sometimes we do this work and we come back and you look at the numbers and there's really no clear path to get you from where you are today to where you need to be viable on election day. And if that's the case, I'll be the first person to tell you that. I think the last thing that the board wants, the administration wants, or the community wants is to invest in a process that really doesn't have a reasonable chance of success. When we do find that there's a path, that second bullet kicks in gear, which is to understand how might you go about structuring this measure in a way that it's consistent with the type of measure your community is interested in supporting. There's a lot of components to a bond proposal. There's the financials, right? What is the aggregate bond amount? What's the annual levy that you're going to be imposing? What's that underlying tax rate? That tends to be the thing that voters care the most about. There's also the project list, how it is you're going to spend the money in terms of your facilities, as well as different accountability provisions. So all of those kind of key questions that need to be addressed and answered in the process of preparing a bond for the ballot, the survey can help guide. And then that third bullet is also an important task of the survey, which is to understand the role that information plays in shaping voters' opinions about your proposal. I'm a big proponent that if a public agency is going to take the step of putting a measure on the ballot and asking voters to make a decision, it's really incumbent upon you as a public agency to inform voters about the decision you're asking them to make, right? As a public agency, you're not using public dollars to advocate up or down. You're not saying vote yes, vote no. But what you can do is give voters the basic facts and figures that understand something about your facilities and how a bond might be a solution to some of the issues that you have. And then ultimately voters get to make their own decisions. In terms of the methodology, we use the same methodology here that we always use when we're doing revenue measure studies. And the first question you always want to ask yourself is, what election is this going to be on? Because different elections have different turnouts, and as you shrink or expand turnout, you will tend to get a different profile to your electorate. In this case, we're thinking about that very high turnout presidential general election coming up in November. That's the highest turnout of any 4-year cycle. And so what we do is we identify voters in the voter file who are what we call likely November voters. These are voters who, based on when they registered to vote in the district, what elections they've taken advantage since that point, as well as some other demographics, we anticipate are likely to cast ballots in the upcoming November election. We then use a process called stratified and clustered random sampling to pull a sample that is a perfect match to that likely November universe on all of the dimensions that we know drive how voters tend to behave on tax measures. So the profile of respondents by age, by gender, by partisanship, by household party type, by where they live within the district, in the universe, we match that with our sample. And that's really the key in today's day and age, in part, to making sure that these studies are reliable. Once we pulled our sample, we used 3 different recruiting methods: email, text, and telephone. Everything is PIN protected so that only those people that we had invited to take the survey could do so. They could take it one time only, right? They couldn't post it the next door and invite their 100 best friends to do it. And individuals had the option of taking it in English or Spanish, as well as online or by telephone, whichever was their preference. We wound up completing 506 interviews, which with a random sample allows us to estimate the opinions of your entire electorate with a margin of error of plus or minus 4.3% at the 95% confidence interval. What that means is we can be 95% confident that the results I'm going to share with you tonight are within 4.3% of what we would have found had we spoken with all of your likely November voters. Okay, so on to the results. This first slide is the results of what we call our importance of issues question. And for each of the issues you see on the left side of that slide, we simply ask voters to tell us how important is this to them. Is it extremely important, very important, somewhat important, or not at all important? We ask this for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's just a great warm-up question, kind of gets people into the groove of taking the survey, gets them thinking about local issues. But it's also an opportunity for us to understand how the topic of education stacks up against some of these other issues that also compete for tax dollars, things like improving public safety or maintaining streets and roads. And in particular, how does that topic of improving the quality of education in local schools stack up against the issue of preventing local tax increases? Rough rule of thumb, surprisingly predictive, the bigger the gap in importance that is assigned to education versus preventing local tax increases, the better positioned you are to move forward with a tax measure. Kind of makes sense, right? And in this case, we have a 21-point gap. The number one issue on the list is improving the quality of education in local public schools. That had 89% say it's extremely very important. Preventing local tax increases came in at 68. So that's a good size gap, right? That's typical of what we're seeing this cycle. The one other thing I will point out is if you go right above one, preventing local tax increases, you see repairing and upgrading aging school facilities checks in at 77%. So it's well below that issue of improving the quality of education in local public schools. I mention that not because that is unusual. That always happens, right? But it's a reminder to us that when you're thinking about moving forward with a bond, although bonds are about your facilities, right? They're about repairs and improvements to your facilities, constructing new facilities. At the end of the day, when it comes to education, voters don't care so much about facilities as they care about what happens inside those facilities. And so you always want to be connecting the dots in your communications about your bond between what it is you're building or fixing, but ultimately why it matters to your core mission of educating students, right? And a lot of the messaging moving forward would want to be connecting those dots. So after that warm-up question, we get right down to business with what we call the initial ballot test. And the idea here is before we get any deeper into the interview and we start talking in more detail about the tax rates that could be associated with this proposal, the types of projects you can fund, as well as presenting arguments pro and con, we want to present to respondents a mock-up of what we think that 75-word ballot statement could look like and get their reaction. The initial ballot test is a really good gauge of where your voters are at on the natural with respect to this proposal, because they haven't heard anything more about this proposal other than what they see in the language you see here. And so this is the ballot test language that we tested, and here are the results. So at that initial ballot test, we had 65% of likely November voters tell us they would support this proposal. You had 46, that's not, the 46 is not correct. I apologize. That's a mislabel. If you add the other two there, it's actually 24% opposed and about 10% unsure, 11% unsure. So you are sitting at 65%. That is 10 points above that 55% threshold that you need for success on a Prop 39 bond. Now, after the initial ballot test, we get to the tax threshold section. And the idea behind the tax threshold section is we want to make it really clear that bonds mean taxes, right? Just in case somehow they didn't catch that in the 75-word ballot statement. And we also want to understand how, if you sort of narrow people's attention and focus them on the price tag, how tax rate sensitive are they? And also, how sensitive are they to different ways of talking about the tax impacts of a bond? And so this slide shows the results of a question where we say, and we start at the top there at that $44 per 100,000 of assessed valuation rate, we say, if you knew that the property taxes on your household would increase by $44 per 100,000 of assessed valuation, would you vote yes or no? If they're anything but a definitely yes, we ask them about $34 and we ask them about $28. So going high to low, that's called a Dutch auction. That's the best way to figure out when people will jump in and where they're comfortable in terms of the tax rate. And so as you can see here, that when you kind of put the blinders on folks and you focus their attention on the price tag, it has a bit of a chilling effect on support for a bond. At that highest rate of $44 per 100,000 assessed valuation, we had 45% support. You drop it to $34, it's 50, and then you drop to 28, it goes to 57%. Now, one thing that we know about this question in particular is it is a very conservative read on voter support for your proposal for a couple of reasons. Number one, we are putting the blinders on folks and we're focusing their attention on the price tag, when in reality, a bond is a package, right? It's a lot of things of which the price tag is a component. We're sort of peeling off the price tag, setting it aside and focusing their attention on it. That tends to diminish support a bit. The other reason we know it's a bit of a conservative read is because when we say things like, if you knew that the property taxes on your home are going to increase $44 per 100,000 of assessed valuation, would you vote yes or no? Not everybody knows what you're talking about, right? You have to know what assessed valuation is. You have to have some estimate of the AV for your property. You've got to be able to do math pretty quickly in your head in the space of an interview to be able to come up with a meaningful number. Not everybody is good at that, understandably. And so what happens is there's a certain percentage of voters who they know you're talking price tag, they don't know what it adds up to, and they will hedge. They will say, no, we're not sure. And so,
Mr. McLarney, if
Yeah.
I could, how do you come up with the 44, 34, 28? I understand what it is, but is it a chilling effect because because of the options, they're just going for the least of those three options, or how do you get to those numbers?
So you as a unified school district can go to a Prop 39 max of $60 per 100,000 of assessed valuation. That is the maximum tax rate that you can set for a Prop 39 bond. Most districts statewide are not anywhere near that in terms of their tax rate, right? Just keeping in mind kind of we've gone through a period of inflation. People are not, sort of cost sensitive. So you can dial back off that. The $44 is kind of a convenient mark because it's off the 60, right? And it's below 45. And so there tends to be, every time you hit one of these sort of rounded numbers of a 40, a 45, or a 50, you tend to tick, right? And so you'll notice what we did is we chose 44, which I thought was probably at the upper range of what you might be able to get, and then just worked it down in big enough increments that we would expect to see a difference. So that's why we did that.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. So, I mentioned this is kind of conservative, and so we decided there's also another way you can talk about a bond, and that is to say, all right, let me put it another way. If you knew that this measure would cost the typical homeowner $176 per year, would you vote yes or no? The $176 is the $44 per 100,000 assessed valuation tax rate multiplied times the median AV for a residential property in your district. So it's what that middle property owner would pay. So those two numbers are comparable. And what you see here is that when you go ahead and do the math for folks and they understand that what that number really is, you get a more positive response. So at that $44 per 100,000 of assessed valuation tax rate, we had 45% support. When you do the math for them and say that's $176 per year for the typical owner, support jumps up to 54%, right? Same exercise on the right, only here we're annualizing that $28 per 100,000 of assessed valuation tax rate, for which we found 57% support on the prior slide. You do the math, you tell them it's $112 per year, you get a couple more points of support there at 59%. All of this is just really useful information for helping you answer what is usually either the first or second most difficult question to answer when you're thinking about a bond. One is, do we go or not, right? And the other is, where do we price it, right? The higher the tax rate, the more bond authorization you can achieve, right? The more revenue you generate, the more good you can do for your facilities. But the more risk you take on, that you come up short of 55, right? So all of this is just useful information for making that decision. Okay, so after the tax rate discussion, we jump into what we call the projects and improvements section. And here we're trying to do two things. One is we are now going to start to educate this respondent more about what your measure would accomplish. by unpacking your bond into all of these various potential uses of bond funds. To this point, in the initial ballot test, we only had 75 words to play with, and you can only say so much in 75 words about what you're going to do with your bond. Here, by unpacking it, you give them a much better idea about what this proposal is about. The other thing it allows us to do is to understand, of all the ways you can spend the money, how do your voters feel about those ways, and which of these rise to the top of the list? I will say I get to do this for a lot of districts around the state, and it's not often that you see kind of the strength of interest that we're seeing here. Every single project that we tested had better than 8 in 10 respondents say that they would favor spending some of the money on that item, right? That's unusual. It's also unusual to have so many items where you have 60+% saying strongly favor, right? Usually you get a couple of those and then it starts to fall off. And so what this says is, your voters clearly see not just the merit of the proposal in terms of what it is you're doing, there's a certain amount of demand there, right? Like, oh, we really want this, we really need this. Now, after the project section, we get into the argument section of the poll. And the idea here is if you as a board were to choose to place a measure on the November ballot, there's going to be an election cycle. And during that election cycle, there's going to be a lot of discussion and debate in the community about this proposal. You'll undoubtedly have advocates who will step up and go out in the community and argue to their friends and neighbors about why this is needed and why they should vote yes. You might also get some opponents, right? People step up, say, it's a terrible idea, right? We shouldn't be doing this. For this survey to be a reliable gauge of the feasibility of a bond measure, we need to simulate that discussion and debate in the space of the interview so that we have a good understanding, not just where your voters are today, which was that initial ballot test, but what happens to their support for your proposal once they hear positives as well as once they encounter negatives. So we test a series of positive arguments that you see here. And the nature of the question is, supporters of the measure say blank, you insert a positive argument. Do you think this is a very convincing, somewhat convincing, or not at all convincing reason to support the proposal? And everything we tested here in terms of positive arguments tested really well. 75% plus of respondents said that they would see it as at least a somewhat convincing reason to support the measure. But what's interesting is the one that rises all the way to the top. And that's a basic equity argument, right? That your students deserve to have the same educational opportunities as others in the region. And by fixing older schools and upgrading classrooms and instructional technology, this measure will provide our students with the classrooms, technology, and education they need to succeed. So it's a basic equity argument. That was the number one. So at this point in the survey, voters have heard a lot more about this proposal than they did previously, right, at the initial ballot test. On the one hand, we talked a lot about tax rates, right? And that had a chilling effect, as we saw. But we had a chance after that to come back, talk about the projects that could be funded, convey positive arguments. And so we circle back on the next slide to what we call our interim ballot test. We present the same 75-word ballot statement and say, now that you've heard a bit more, where do you stand? And that is here. So we've actually ticked up a point, right? And it seems like we went from 65 to 66, but what we did is we started at 65. We talked about the taxes. You went downhill from there. But then you were able to climb back out of that hole by just giving them more information about how it is you'd spend the money and conveying arguments on behalf of the proposal. So we're sitting about 11 points above the 55% threshold you need to succeed at this point in the survey. And then we get to the negatives. And the idea behind the negatives is I want to pressure test respondent support for this proposal by peppering them with a series of negative arguments, the kind of arguments you might hear in the community if you move forward with a measure, right? Should you get opposition? Should they be effective at getting their message out? We need to understand how that might ultimately impact voters' opinions about your proposal. So you can see here we test a series of negative arguments. We don't test as long a list of negatives as we do positives, and that is by design. What we tend to find when it comes to school bonds, if you get opposition, right, they're generally far fewer in number and just in terms of bodies. They're not as organized. They don't raise money, and they don't do mailers, right? They just have a softer voice than the advocacy campaign. And so we simulate that disparity by testing fewer negatives in the survey. But the negatives we test are hard-hitting negative arguments, right? These are the kind of arguments you can expect to hear if you get opponents during a bond campaign. So we're not pulling any punches in terms of the nature of the argument we're testing. And you can see here that a few of the negatives get some traction. The real question, though, is what happens afterwards, and that is here. So at that final ballot test, right behind the negatives, where we, again, present that same 75-word ballot statement, we check in at 62%. So we've fallen about 4 points from where we were at that interim ballot test in response to the negatives, but we're still landing 7 points north of the 55% threshold you need to be successful with a Prop 39 bond. So I've just got a couple wrap-up slides here. So what does all this mean? I'm going to circle back to that overarching question I mentioned at the outset as being one of the main reasons why you do this research, which is to answer that basic question of feasibility. If you as a board were to choose to move forward with a November measure, does it have a reasonable chance of success? The answer to that question based on these numbers is clearly yes. A lot of the things that we want to see in place for a measure to be feasible, we are seeing in place here. You know, we saw that your voters rated improving the quality of education in local public schools as the #1 issue facing the community. That translated into strong natural support for the bond measure. We had 65% support at that initial ballot test. The projects, as we saw, were wildly popular, right? Everything you were thinking about funding, your community was very interested in receiving. The positive arguments resonated. And importantly, at each point in the survey where we circled back to respondents, we presented that same 75-word ballot statement. We said, now that you've heard a bit more, where do you stand? All of those ballot tests were well north of the 55% threshold that you need for passage. So when we see that kind of pattern, that suggests, yes, you've got a path to success in November, right? That's a good one. It's not as steep as some. It's not as rough to climb as some districts. And so that doesn't mean it's a slam dunk by any stretch, but it means that you've definitely got a reasonable shot at a successful measure. With that, we also want to kind of keep in mind that there are some challenges that pop out of the survey that you want to be mindful of. One is tax rate sensitivity. You know, the more that conversation sort of circled on the tax rate itself, the more support you were losing in the poll. And so it's going to be important to kind of think about where do you set that tax rate moving forward so that you're kind of in the comfort zone of the necessary percentage of voters. We did see a bit of receptiveness to the opposition arguments. It cooled you down about 4 points. I will say that that's not a big hit. I was literally across the way in a call with a community college district right before walking in here, and they took a 10-point hit in response to negatives. So that's on the large side. 4 points is on the small side. Typically, we see 6, 7 points. And so that's also a good sign that the opposition arguments aren't carrying as much weight as they sometimes do. The other thing, though, separate from the poll itself, but when you think about if you move forward with the November measure, you're going to be on the ballot with a lot of other things, and there's going to be a lot of other stuff going on, right? You're not going to be up there in a vacuum. There's going to be this very fluid environment that you're part of. And sometimes when we head into elections, they're feel-good elections, right? Like the economy's going great, everyone's kind of happy, people are feeling good about things. This is not going to be one of those elections, right? This is an election where we're going to have a very bitter, hyper-partisan presidential campaign that is going to set the tone for the election. And I mention that not because you can't survive that, but that anytime you put a measure on the ballot, you don't want to sort of assume blue skies and tailwinds all the way to election day, right? You got to sort of accept that you're probably going to have some headwinds, and you want to put a measure up there that's going to be able to withstand that, right, and still be successful. And so with that, I have a few final sort of observations and recommendations for you. The first is just kind of a reminder that a poll like this is not a crystal ball, right? If I had a crystal ball, I'd charge a lot more for it. It is a snapshot in time, right? It's not telling you what you're going to get on election day. It's telling you where your voters are today, tells you how they tend to react to the types of information that they can encounter during an election cycle. But ultimately what determines what happens on election day isn't what your poll says today. It's everything that happens from this point forward. And I mention that because it's kind of a reminder that you're going to want to make smart decisions about how you package this measure in a way that it's consistent with the type of measure that your community has indicated they're willing to support. And you got to put the work in terms of communications and outreach. And so with that, I think one of the things to keep in mind is you're going to want to look hard at that tax rate and make a decision about where's that proper balancing point in terms of how high you set the tax rate relative to the political risk of doing so. The project priorities, you have an embarrassment of riches. I mean, you could probably put just about any combination of the things we tested into your package, and voters are going to find those attractive. But the list of items you see here under project priorities, these were ultimately kind of towards the top of the list. These are the things that your voters were most interested in seeing as part of your project list, and so you want to feature them prominently. And then finally, you're going to want to put the work in terms of communication, and that really takes two paths. The district, as a public agency, right, can and should be, having a conversation with the community moving forward about what your facility needs are, right, how they connect to educational opportunities, and ultimately to start to build consensus around a bond proposal. You do not want voters walking into the ballot booth, although most people mail now, or sitting down to check their ballot off and being surprised to see your measure on the ballot, right? You want them to be aware of this ahead of time and have some understanding about the why behind this. And then separate from the district, there needs to be an independent campaign, right? You need to have volunteers, privately funded effort. That group can go out and advocate on behalf of this proposal during the election cycle. Once you as a board vote to place it on the ballot, the district really needs to be quiet, right? Because you don't want to, be seen as advocating one way or the other. But that independent campaign can step up and, go out and make the case to voters on why this bond is needed. So that is the end of my presentation. I certainly welcome questions from the board if there are any.
Thank you for that. Any questions from the board? I have a couple, if not. Ms. Garza?
Thank you, President Critchfield. My question is, would you have a recommendation for timelines?
For timeline?
Yes.
So I think the filing deadline is August 9th, right? And so that is coming up fast. What I would suggest is you don't want to make a decision today that, let's put a bond on the ballot, because once you do that, you sort of handcuff yourself from a communications perspective, and I don't think you're ready. You just got these results. But what you want to be thinking about is, okay, do we want to continue down this path of considering a bond measure, right? And leaving ourselves the option of taking action on that sometime either late June or in July. I don't know if you're dark in July. A lot of districts are dark in July, so sometimes they push that decision to late June. But let's call it late June. At this point, you have less than 2 months, right, between now and that point. So in between there, you would want to be talking to bond counsel, right? They're the attorneys who put these resolutions together. They usually guide they give you some do's and don'ts from a public agency standpoint, and kind of help you understand where those lines are. You would, in my recommendation, talk to a communication consultant, someone who can help you on those district communication side, get your message out there without crossing any lines. They're very good about that, and you want to move on that pretty quickly. That because you only have roughly 2 months between now and the time you'd be filing, right? Or you'd be voting, put a measure on the ballot. And so those are the kind of the two pieces I would say you need to be acting on sooner rather than later.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Vice President Stewart?
Thank you. I just had one question. I know you talk a lot about the tax rates. What variables should we consider when doing those, and who is going to help us? Because obviously we don't know that much.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have a financial advisor, right, in terms of, and they can run those bond scenarios for you. And oftentimes, based on that, what your facility needs are, I'm certainly sticking around, right? I mean, if the district has questions, staff has questions, I'm happy to answer questions in terms of guiding where I think that number could be. And so, I would say that that's something that probably in the next month you're going to want to nail down, right? Because some of your communications are probably going to reference, what is this going to cost? That's one of the questions you're going to get asked, and you're going to want to have an answer for that. And so you'll have to sort of narrow that down a bit.
So base it on how much we want to do with the bond and what projects we want to do?
I think it's a balancing act. On the one hand, my estimate, I'm guessing, right, is even if you went out a full $60 tax rate, you could more than justify that bond amount because you have facility needs that go beyond that point, would be my guess, right? And that would be like most districts. So we know that you want to have as much revenue out of this as you can because you have those needs. On the other hand, we want to be careful that you choose a tax rate that your community is reasonably comfortable with, right? And so we tested a high of 44 down to a low of 28, right? It's going to be somewhere in that range, right? The question is, do you want to keep it at 44? Or do you want to back it to 38, right? it's really kind of that question right there. And this is something that tends to be, it's not something you look at one question and answer. It's kind of like, what are your needs? We talked to the financial advisor about the timing of the issuances that are built into this. And sometimes we can keep the tax rate a little lower by slowing the draws down a little bit, right? That you can generate the same amount of bond with a lower tax rate. You just have to wait a little longer to get all of the money, right? It stretches out. How that aligns with your facility plans, I don't know, right? Sometimes that doesn't work for districts because they're like, look, we need, we're planning to do all this work in the next 6 years, and we can't push it out 8. And so that's that kind of a conversation that has to happen. But my guess is you're looking at a tax rate somewhere between that 38 to 44.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Vice President. Ms. Armstrong?
Thank you, Mr. President. Sir, now you're talking about November ballot, right? Now, are you cognizant of other bills that may or may not be on the ballot in November?
Yeah, it's going to be a crowded ballot. They always are. Presidential general elections are always crowded ballots. I don't know what you have locally overlapping you. That's really the question. There's going to be a certain number of statewide measures that are there. There's discussion about a statewide school bond that could actually be helpful if it's on, right? Because you can talk about how, in order to get our fair share of that, we need to have a local match. So that tends to be helpful. The real question sometimes at a local level, you're a USD, so you don't have that problem of feeder districts. But I have a number of schools where the high school district wants to go, but then 3 of the feeder districts are going, right? And so, voters are going to be confronted with multiple school bonds in a row on their ballot, right? In your case, the only question I would have is what the community college might be doing, and if they're going or not. If they are, the good news is, push come to shove, voters are going to vote for a USD measure, and, with the K-12 before they're going to go vote for a community college bond, right? The community college district is probably more impacted by the fact that you would be on the ballot than the reverse, right?
Okay, so yeah, because AB 938 is going to be a $14 billion proposed bond, and they are trying to give 11 to the K-12s and 3 to the community colleges. And I was just, wondering, wow, that's going to be more and more. It's going to be compounded.
And one of the nice things about statewide school bonds is they do not raise your taxes. So unlike local bonds where there's some sort of tax increment associated with that, if they pass that statewide bond, it doesn't raise anybody's local taxes.
Okay, so that's the type of information we're going to need if we decide to go forward with this, because I'm thinking, wow, I don't know, the average house here is, I don't know if it's average, but for homes that are valued at $800,000, it's going to be $160,000 a year more on top of the regular taxes? Or?
Well, so the nice thing is it's not the market value, right? I have no doubt that you have houses
assessed value.
It's the assessed value.
Exactly.
Right. And the typical assessed value is not going to be that high. It's going to be something lower. And especially for folks who have lived in the district a long time, like my dad loves to rub this on me. He's had his house for 35 years. His assessed valuation is so low that he pays about 1/10 what I pay on my house for property taxes, right? Just because he's owned it so long and he bought it so low, and the property tax doesn't increase but 2% a year, right, for them. And so, but you're right, there's a story that needs to be told around this bond, right, so that voters understand kind of the why of it and what the benefits of this are going to be and why the district's coming to them and how it plays out with that statewide school bond. That's kind of what that communication consultant that you should consider would help you with, right? They're really good at sort of weaving that story together for you.
Okay. And I just want to just pose this to the staff, so to speak. Are our schools in such a condition to where we really need a bond like this? Because we've been conservative for years. We've only had that one bond, and, we're very proud to be able to not do a bond, So I don't know. Answer that.
So, Ms. Armstrong, I'll jump in here, and then I'll ask Ms. Holguin to, of course, jump in. Well, what I would say is we've done a very good job maintaining our properties. We do the best that we can with what we have, and you know that because you visited our sites. But I would say that the bond is always an opportunity for you to do something above and beyond what you would consider probably what you do for the norm, which is why you were able to put in that STEAM building. That's above and beyond what you would normally do. So if you're looking to provide things like that, I think you would typically do that through a bond. But Ms. Holguin, of course, please jump in.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Azevedo. If you recall, we've looked at what our estimated master facilities plan states, and it's well over 135,000, and that's just for, as Ms. Azevedo was saying, those normal repairs and different things. However, it doesn't include all of our enhancements that we would like to take it to another level. So, yes, our custodial staff in our maintenance department does a great job in maintaining what they can with what we have. However, our facilities have aged, and so they do need that additional support.
Thank you very much, and thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. And just to be clear, 135 million, right?
That is correct. Did I say 135,000? Oh, wow. Sorry about that. No, million.
No
yes,
worries.
thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. Armstrong. Ms. Garza.
Thank you, President Critchfield. Superintendent Acevedo, I wanted to ask you about the last facilities report we had. Was that it was the updated one that we got with everything now? I know that last time, before you were with us, we had gotten part of it, but we were still owed a little bit more information. Is that everything, or are we still waiting on something else?
So, Ms. Garza, I can share with you that you are going to have another update on your facilities plan. It's coming this summer. That's one of your special topics that we'll be looking into. But again, for additional details, I'll defer to Ms. Holguin about that, if that's okay.
Yes, that 135 million that I was referencing, and thank you again. We know 135,000 won't get us anything today, right? But nevertheless, that did have that information, and that was based on that time of the evaluation of our facilities.
Thank you. And I also wanted to ask you about our last bond that we did have. So correct me if I'm wrong, we went and we refinanced it, correct? For a lower rate?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for you now. Looking at maybe how much were we saying for the bond, 98 million perhaps? Is there a time when we could possibly do the same with this future bond, or do we have to wait a certain amount of time?
So your choices right now, there's a few strings attached to Prop 39 bonds, one of which is they have to go on regularly scheduled elections. So the way everything is consolidated now, your choice was March of 2024 or November 2024 coming up, or you wait till 2026. And that's going to be a June and a November election in 2026. So you basically have even year opportunities into the future. One of the other things I will say about the November election is, although it's a presidential general election, it's a crowded ballot, it is a noisy election, right? It's also, if you look historically, they tend to be very favorable elections for revenue measures. And if you look over time, the passage rate for school bonds, every time you hit a presidential general, it goes up, right, compared to what it was on the other cycle. And that's because the turnout in this coming November is going to be so high, right? It's going to be most of your, the vast majority of your voters. When you expand turnout, you tend to bring to the polls more bond-friendly voters, right? They tend to be a little younger. They tend to be more left-leaning. You get a higher percent of renters, right? And so you also get younger voters who have kids in them. And so all of those factors just means the playing field with a high turnout election tends to be better than when you get into some of these off-year, elections where, what we've seen in the past gubernatorial elections, and 2026 is just not going to have the same turnout that we're going to have in November. And so that usually right there costs you a few points in terms of support.
Thank you. And last question for Ms. Acevedo. I think I saw you writing down when he was saying that there might be a competing bond, perhaps for community colleges, but I just don't want to I don't want to leave the question on the table. Could we just kind of follow up on that and with our current?
Yes,
neighbors?
absolutely. I wrote it down.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Ms. Armstrong? Cool. Thank you for the questions. Boards, I do have a couple for you. You mentioned a 95% success rate, which is very impressive. I am going to ask a question about the other 5%. In your experience with that 5%, what was the failure due to? Was it going too high of a bond when they went out, or was it the hyper political just happened the wind shifted? What would you attribute that to?
So the normal scenario, if you get a loss, it tends to be, number one, a client that was sort of borderline poll to begin with, right? Their numbers, when they went, particularly at the final ballot test, they're landing around that 55%. There's a margin of error on the poll. Yes, you should go forward and take a swing at it, but knowing that there's some risks involved. And so sometimes that comes in underneath, right? The big one was the March 2020 election, right? And I don't know if you remember that election, but it was an absolute dumpster fire of an election for school bonds around the state. The normal passage rate for school bonds is high 70s, low 80s. It was 37% in that election. It's also the only time in my career that a statewide school bond wasn't passed. The reason for that, there's a couple of reasons, but the main one was, if you think back to what happened right before, and I'm talking 3 weeks before the March election, COVID hit, right? And you think about what a bond is an investment in your future, right? And people at that point were scared they didn't have a future, right? They're either going to die or they're going to lose their job. The headlines were catastrophic, right? And it scared everybody. The stock market, as an indicator of how scared people were, the stock market dove 30% in a month, right? That fast. So everyone's panicking. That's not the kind of scenario where you want to go out and raise taxes in, right? But the problem was, by the time that hit, everybody's committed on the ballot. And so that was the big one, right? Just getting sideswiped by the pandemic. Beyond that, it typically is they're either really close, right, and they don't have numbers that look as solid as yours, or secondly, they don't do what they're supposed to do on their end, right? Your poll number tells you where you are today, but as I mentioned, you need to be doing good outreach and education with your community. There needs to be an independent campaign. You can't just vote to put it up on the ballot and walk away. And there's been a couple clients that got pretty lazy, right, about that and didn't do what they were supposed to do and then came up short.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. The statewide bond, I know I've heard a lot about it, but when does that become a for sure thing? Yeah,
my understanding is that they've got to make that decision about the same time you need to.
August.
Your filing deadlines are, right? And now the state legislature they get to make the rules, and so they can bend the rules, right? And so sometimes things show up a little later, but I would expect that time frame. My recommendation to you would be, based on these numbers, you should go, right? If the statewide school bond's on the ballot, that's bonus, right? That gives you another talking point that you can sort of tie into. But, if it's not there, that versus waiting around to the next time it's at least 2 years and maybe 4 years out. It's a long time to wait. And your numbers suggest you can be successful, again, if you do the things that you should be doing on your end.
Right, and I was pleasantly surprised in the results. Even the community members that didn't have kids were in our district were very supportive, because I think people do see it as an investment in not only our schools but the community, and they see that correlation with their housing value. So that was really nice to see. I really appreciate all the work that you put into this. It's very insightful. Thank you. Any other questions from the board at all? Great. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Truly appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll leave that here.
All right, tonight we do not have any requests addressing closed session agenda items. At this time, the board will adjourn to closed session, and open session will resume at approximately 6 p.m. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We will now reconvene to open session at 6:07 to resume our regular order of business. Board Clerk Myra Garza will provide an update on closed session topics.
Good afternoon, everyone. The topics discussed in closed session were student matters, anticipated litigation, labor negotiations. The board took action in closed session to approve expulsion case 24-16-0007.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Replacement pages for items 14.5 and 14.13 are on the back table. Tonight, we do not have requests addressing agenda or non-agenda items. Do we have any corrections to this evening's agenda?
Correction. Board President, we do have cards. Is that correct?
Oh.
We do have cards this evening.
Oh. Found, sorry about that, folks. All right, my spiel. While the meetings of the governing board are not public meetings, they are open to the public. Individual speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item, and the board will limit the total time for public input on each item to 21 minutes as per board bylaw 9322.2. May I have Colleen Brady to the podium, please? Welcome, Colleen.
Good evening. I've been an instructional assistant for 23 years with Bellflower. My son was in special ed from 88 to 2001, okay? There hasn't been a principal over at ATC for 2 years. I've watched a teacher trigger behaviors in class and in public. One student will take off all of her clothing. There are adults, these are adults fully developed. This is on one incident. We were at McDonald's on Bellflower and South, where she took off her clothing. The second one was in the middle of South and Clark. There were police, ambulance, fire department, everybody called. She has lied. This teacher has lied to the district and to parents. This teacher has neglected students by not giving them water, not changing diapers, when they will sit in a wet diaper all day. She has bullied students and staff. I've watched her get in a student's face and yell. I've watched her put her hands on students many times. She has pushed a student off the city bus in front of me. She has gotten in my face, yelled, started hitting the table I was at, and at one point I thought she was going to hit me. This has created a very hostile environment at the ATC. Okay, I took 2 months off this year because of this teacher for my own mental health. I can stand up for myself, but my main concern are the students, and I am here for the students and only the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. May I have Marta? Marta? Martha Gonzalez? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Marta Maciel Gonzalez. I've been with USD also for 23 years, and I am currently at the ATC campus. This is my first board meeting, so bear with me. For the past 2 years, I've seen cruel and disturbing things happen on our campus. And what makes it even worse is that for our past 3 admins have been fully aware of the situation and they have done nothing about it. Many staff have been reporting these events for the past 2 years and still nothing has been resolved. Our current program admin, Rachel Villalobos' response to everything is, "I'm working on it." And still, all the while, these students continue to sit in a classroom unprotected. The past 2 years have taught me that abuse and neglect is something that BUSD allows and condones, especially when it comes to our most vulnerable population, special education. I never would have believed this, but today is a different day. Unfortunately, I now know that you really don't protect our special ed students. You've forgotten why you are here, and you should be ashamed of yourselves, and I hope you like what you see in the mirror because I could not live with myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. Could we follow up on this?
Yes.
Thank you. May I have Annaline? I can't read tonight. Is that, how do you say your last name, Annaline? Ravisky. Welcome.
Good evening, school board members, cabinets, and stakeholders. I appreciate the opportunities to speak today about the issue of critical importance, that is ensuring the responsible and effective utilization of Proposition 28 funds within our school district. I am talking about approximately 1.8 million annually, according to the State of the California website. Last weekend, I attended the California State PTA Convention in Ontario, together with 21 other PTA leaders representing 9 BUSD schools and the Bellflower Council of PTAs. I also joined 2 workshops about Prop 28 and the arts. Prop 28 provides increased funding specifically earmarked for arts and music education, reflecting a statewide commitment to enriching our students' educational experiences. It is an opportunity to redefine and elevate our arts programs, which are essential for fostering creativity and critical thinking among our students. The responsibility now lies with us as a community and especially as a school district to ensure that these funds are spent wisely and transparently. With this funding, our district has the unique chance to not only maintain but significantly enhance the quality and reach of our arts programs. This means hiring more arts teachers, investing in new instruments and materials, and even expanding our curriculum to include a broader range of artistic disciplines. However, with great funding comes great responsibility. We must establish clear, measurable goals for what we aim to achieve with these funds. It is crucial that the district provides regular updates on how the funds are being spent and the outcomes of these investments. Transparency here is key, not just to satisfy state requirements, but to maintain trust and support within our community. That is why I strongly recommend the establishment of an oversight committee that includes not just administrators, but also local artists, educators, and the community. The oversight committee is responsible for informing and updating the school board about the progress, implementation, and execution of Prop 28 funds. This committee could play a pivotal role in advising the board on strategic decisions related to the arts and ensuring the funds are enhancing educational equity all across our schools. Community involvement is vital in making decisions that truly reflect the educational values and needs of our district. The online surveys that are sent by each site administrators to their families are not enough to make this happen. We need real stakeholders' involvement. So please don't use these online surveys as the only way to get input. Let's sit down and talk about this. In closing, let's approach Prop 28 as an opportunity to invest in our students' future. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Annalyn, and you totally nailed the time. That was impressive. And if you could, because I know you have that written, if you could email that as well. Thank you, I appreciate it. Mark Mendez, come on up to the podium. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mark Mendez. I have a daughter that's in the ATC program, 19-year-old daughter. I've had meetings, a meeting with Ms. Rachel Villalobos back early in April regarding certain concerns. And one of the concerns is the aids that are received into the classroom. And it's my daughter. My daughter receives a 101 aid. She got it. She approved a 101 aid towards the end of last year. And to this day, she's had 4 different aids, which throws her off. There's no stability, and nothing runs smooth. And what Ms. Rachel told me is that BUSD has a contract with a third party, with the agency, and that agency has the right to remove an aid at any time they want. And I think as a parent, that is wrong. That includes the one-on-one aids and any aids helping in the classroom. These kids need stability, and it's not there. BUSD is faulting these kids, and I'm just up to here with it already. I spoke to her Somali, I can't remember her name, for a brief 5 minutes. Until to this day, she has not returned my call or got back to me on the situation that is in that classroom. I asked you to look into this. There has been an aide there that was in the classroom for 2 years. She has been let go. According to her, according to the agency, the school district let her go. But no administrators knew nothing about it. And that was told to my face. And that's not right. There's no transparency. It's one person saying one thing, another person saying something else. That was an aide that we were going to ask in the IEP to be my daughter's 101 aide because she's been in the classroom for 2 years, and her and my daughter work well together. But she was let go, and no one knows what happened. That is, telling a parent that is wrong. That's not right. So I'm coming here as a parent and advocate for my daughter that as a school board, you look into this program and the contracts they have with these third-party agencies. Because according to the administrators, they cannot hire these agencies or hire these aides to be full-time with the BUSD school district. But yet, all I hear is BUSD can't hire or are unable to hire aides because they're not available. I'm done with that. I'm done. The contracts with these third-party agencies has to change. That gives you BUSD more agility to hire aides for these classrooms, for these kids, for these adults to have stability. And going further, I am open for more further discussions because this has to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you. And thank you for advocating for your daughter, and because it makes a difference for all of our students. And thank you for all the speakers that spoke tonight. I appreciate it. And if we could follow up on each one of those, that'd be highly appreciated.
Yes.
President Critchfield, may I recommend that we pull up their contract as well, please?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Could we pull up that contract that provides those aids to be provided for the board?
Let me make sure I understand what you're asking. You're asking for a copy of the contract that's providing aids in a classroom if they are contracted aids?
Yes, just the contract that we have with that agency.
Can I also make a recommendation on our next Friday memo? Is it possible for us to get a report of what every site is doing for their Prop 28 plans?
I'll ask Ms. Carter if she can provide that to you. So, Ms. Carter, do you want to answer that question?
I can give you an update of where they're at in the process.
And then when they finalize their plans, can we get that so we all know?
Absolutely. And we shared that at an earlier board meeting, and we will have to come forward and share what the expenditures are for Prop 28 as well. So we do that annually. So I'll give you an update in the Friday memo of where they're at in the process.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Do we have any corrections to this evening's agenda?
We do not.
Okay. I would like to call Bellflower High Middle School Counselor Miss Kristen Jones to lead us in the flag salute, if you will. Thank you.
Hello, board members. Thank you so much. Please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Never mind. Thank you for that, Ms. Jones. And it is now time for recognitions. Ms. Acevedo, would you please assist us in the recognitions?
Yes, absolutely. So this evening we're proud to be recognizing 55 students from our Spring Sports and Skills USA organizations, along with our salutatorians, our valedictorians, our student board reporters, and our student board members. I'd like to ask the board to come down in front of the dais, please, while Mrs. Carter facilitates our recognitions this evening.
As Ms. Acevedo said, we are going to have many recognitions tonight. As the groups of students are recognized, we ask that you come forward and make sure that you have a picture. Stop by Ms. Garcia over there and then work your way here. We'll take a picture, and then we ask that you do exit outside to the tent so that you can have an opportunity to have additional pictures taken outside. As I call staff and students, please come forward. I'm going to start off with Skills USA. So if we could please have Skills USA advisor, Julio Guzman, to come to the front. We will be recognizing CalAP Skills USA individuals and teams who medaled in the state competition. We'd like to bring forward Joseph Arroyo, Joseph earned bronze at state in the area of telecommunications cabling. Yeah, do it in the middle. Congratulations. Next, we're going to bring forward Julian Luna and Chinwendu Arandi. We're recognizing these students for earning bronze at state in the area of commercial drone. Congratulations. Give them a round of applause. And thank you, Julio, for all your hard work and dedication to our students. Can we please have Skills USA advisor Annabelle Adradico come forward, please? We'll also be recognizing her teams who medaled in the state competition. If we could please have sophomore Roman Diaz, and seniors Camila Puga Ramirez and Yaseline Garcia. Their team earned bronze at state in the area of outstanding high school chapter.
No, okay, you're good. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Congratulations. If we could bring forward sophomore Legend Presidente and seniors Valerie Reyes. This team earned silver at state in the area of promotional bulletin board.
3, 2, 1.
Congratulations. If we could please have George Mejia, Gregory Mejia, and Maximo Ramos come forward. Their team earned silver at state in the area of chapter display.
Three, 2, 1.
Congratulations. If we could please have 7th grader Derek Tang come forward, please. The student earned gold at state in the area of Creed.
Three, two, one.
Congratulations. Can we please have Marina Felix come forward? Marina earned gold at state in the area of prepared speech. She has also qualified for and will be attending the National Skills USA competition in Atlanta, Georgia at the end of June. Congratulations and good luck. Good luck at Nationals. Thank you, Annabelle, for your hard work and dedication to our students. Next, we're going to be recognizing spring sports. So if we could have Skills USA maybe head on outside to the tent, that would be wonderful. Let's give them a round of applause while they head out. Come on in, students, and come to the front row. There's seats for you. We're going to start off with Mayfair High School's boys tennis coach. If Chris Tran could please come forward. So thank you for Chris Tan, coach, coming forward with your students. We have juniors Dominic Caldejon and Brandon Tang. They earned boys tennis doubles Gateway League championship. Let's give them a round of applause. Dominic and Brandon are also here representing Mayfair High School boys varsity tennis. The team coached by Chris Tran won the Gateway League of the Suburban Valley Conference this year, making this the third time of winning out of the last 6 years. Congratulations.
3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Congratulations. And Coach, thank you for your hard work. Next, we're going to bring forward Bellflower High School baseball coach Keith Tripp. We will be calling up all of his team members, his students. So if you could come up when you hear your name. Ripken, Jathan, Isaac, Isaiah, Anthony. Those are our sophomores. Anthony, Gavin, Akai, and Ray. Those are our juniors. Jesse, Casey, Michael, and Aiden. Those are our seniors. And this entire team, we'd like to congratulate them for earning the 2024 Mid-Cities League Championship. It came down to the last two games of the season against Mayfair. This is Bellflower's first league title in 31 years.
Three, two, one. Perfect. Thank you.
Congratulations. And thank you, Coach Tripp. The next teams that will be coming in are Bellflower High School varsity track. If we could please have Bellflower High School varsity track coach James Dirk please come forward. And our athletes, sophomores, please come forward. Jade Walker. Kayla Williams. Malaya Warren. These ladies earned individual Suburban Valley Conference champion in the 4x100 relay. In addition, let's give a round of applause for that, please. In addition, Malaya earned individual Suburban Valley Conference champion in the 100 and 300 hurdles. Let's give her a round of applause. And Jade also earned individual Suburban Valley Conference champion in 200 meters. Congratulations.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Great job and congratulations, ladies. If we could please have Raya Blackman come to the front. We'd like to recognize Raya for earning the individual Suburban Valley Conference champion in shot put.
Three, 2, 1.
Congratulations. If we could please have sophomore Isaiah Coleman and junior Austin Johnson please come forward. These gentlemen earned individual Suburban Valley Conference champion in the 4x100 relay.
Three, two, one.
Congratulations, gentlemen. If we could please have Caleb Grant come forward. Caleb earned individual Suburban Valley Conference champion in long and triple jump.
Three, two, one. Thank you.
Congratulations. And thank you, Coach Dirk. We appreciate your hard work and dedication. We're going to transition to our next school. Welcome, Mayfair. If we could have Mayfair High School varsity track coach Irvin Grant and Robert Pendleton please come forward. We'd like to bring forward sophomores Jay Sean Jones and seniors Jeremiah Adkins and Kisan Martin. These gentlemen earned individual Suburban Valley Conference champion in the 4x400 relay. In addition, Jeremiah earned individual Suburban Valley Conference champion in the 400 meter.
Three, two, one. Thank you.
Congratulations, gentlemen. If we could please have Javon Ju Bull come forward, please. Javon earned individual Suburban Valley Conference champion in the 800 meters.
Three, two, one. Thank you.
Congratulations. If we could please have senior Rocco Mercado come forward. Rocco earned individual Suburban Valley Conference champion in discus.
Three, two, one. Thank you.
Congratulations. If we could please have the following students come forward. Freshman Ayana Greenwich. Sophomores Journey Shamat and Kamaria Beverly. And senior Isis NC. These ladies earned individual Suburban Valley Conference champion in the 4x400 relay.
Three, two, one. Thank you.
Congratulations, ladies. Thank you, Coach Grant, for all of your hard work and dedication. The next group we're going to be bringing forward are Mayfair Girls Varsity Swimming. If we could have the coach for Mayfair Girls Varsity Swimming come forward, Matt Price. And students, please come forward. Freshman Katie Cummings. Sophomores Ellie Barchi and Jamison Grimes. And senior Emma Douglas. These ladies earned individual Gateway League champion in the 200 IM relay and the 4x400 relay. In addition, Katie earned individual Gateway League champion in the 100 back. Ellie earned individual Gateway League champion in the 200 and 500 free, and Emma earned individual Gateway League champion in the 200 IM and 100 free. Let's give them a round of applause. The Mayfair High School varsity swimming team made history last week by winning the first ever Division IV CIF championship. Ellie, Emma, Katie, and Jamison scored enough points to win as a team, even with only 4 swimmers. Not to mention, they also won CIF in the 4x100 free. Nice job, ladies.
Three, two, one.
Congratulations, ladies. Very nice job. And thank you, Coach Price, for all your hard work. As we transition to our salutatorians and valedictorians, let's give a round of applause to all the parents and families of our athletes. At this time, we would like to recognize our top scholars from Bellflower and Mayfair. Representing Bellflower High School, salutatorian Araya Sachavata. Araya has earned a cumulative GPA of 4.42. She's attended schools in the ABC Unified School District prior to joining the Bellflower Unified School District in the 10th grade at Bellflower Middle and High School. She has taken 6 advanced placement courses, 4 honors courses, and 6 dual enrollment courses. Araya's favorite class is AP Environmental Science because she gets the opportunity to better understand the earth that we live on and its mechanisms that she has never thought of before. APES has many concepts that are interesting to her, and it helped teach her how our actions affect our environment. Araya has been actively involved in school clubs and organizations, including California Scholarship Federation and Key Club, and she has decided to attend UCI in the fall and will major in biology. Congratulations.
3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Congratulations one more time. Representing Bellflower High School, valedictorian Isaiah Sankey. Isaiah has earned a cumulative GPA of 4.46. He joined the Bellflower Unified School District in kindergarten and attended Ernie Pyle Elementary. He then promoted to Bellflower Middle and High School. He has taken 8 advanced placement courses, 5 honors courses, and 3 dual enrollment courses. Isaiah's favorite class was the Cerritos Dual Enrollment English 100 class taught by Miss Allen because it enhanced his expression and creativity through writing. Isaiah has been actively involved on our campus, including being a member of the Academic Program of Excellence, California Scholarship Federation, National Honor Society, Link Crew, Pre-Med Club, Thespian Troop 1442, Mu Alpha Theta, Filipino Club, and Cross Country Club. Wow. Isaiah has been president of Apex, Thespian Troop 1442, Mu Alpha Theta, and Filipino Club. And he has been the vice president of Ensemble and the Spirit Team and event coordinator of Key Club. Isaiah plans on attending USC in the fall, and he will major in psychology. Congratulations, Isaiah.
3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Congratulations again. This valedictorian does not have to move far for a picture. If we could please have Bellflower High School's valedictorian Elise Pola Dizon come forward. Elise has earned a cumulative GPA of 4.46. She started school at Anglicum College in the Philippines and joined the Bellflower Unified School District in the 5th grade, attending Ernie Pyle Elementary. She then promoted to Bellflower Middle and High School. Elise has taken 7 advanced placement courses, 6 honors courses, and 1 dual enrollment course. Elise's favorite class is AP Literature because she gets to enjoy a fulfilling year of reading new and classic novels, poetry, and she has an awesome teacher. Elise has been actively involved on the campus, including being a member of the Key Club, California Scholarship Federation, Varsity Girls Swim, Academic Program of Excellence, Link Crew, Filipino Club, as well as World Language Club. Elise has been president for the Key Club, CSF, and World Language Club, and has been the vice president for Key Club, the Kampala Batch to the Filipino Club, and the captain to the Varsity Girls Swim Team. Elise has also served as a BUSD student board member representing Bellflower Middle High School and the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. Very, very busy. Elise is still considering many of her acceptances, but has not decided on the college she will attend. She does plan on transferring to USC eventually and will major in business administration. Congratulations.
Three, two, one. Thank you.
Wonderful. Congratulations. If we could please have Bellflower High School's valedictorian, Jessie Mendez, please come forward. Jessie has earned a cumulative GPA of 4.47. He joined the Bellflower Unified School District in kindergarten and attended Ramona Elementary, and then promoted to Bellflower Middle and High School. He has taken 8 advanced placement courses, 5 honors courses, and 1 dual enrollment course. Jesse's favorite subject at Bellflower is math because he enjoys working with numbers and being able to use different formulas to get a solution. He loves being able to find the different patterns to each equation. While many people don't like math, he feels that it is the only subject that makes him think. Jesse has been actively involved in the school clubs and organizations including Mu Alpha Theta, Math Club, Link Crew, National Honor Society, Academic Programs of Excellence, Key Club, and California Scholarship Federation. Jesse has been vice president of California Scholarship Federation and Key Club. He has also been the secretary for Mu Alpha Theta. Jesse has decided to attend UCLA in the fall and will major in business and pursue a career in finance industry to hopefully become a chief financial officer in one of the Fortune 500 companies. Congratulations. Next, we would like to recognize our 23-24 student board reporters. If we could first please have Somerset High School Junior Julian Becerra Olivon come forward. Julian's journey to success began as a student at Craig Williams Elementary School. After promotion from Craig Williams, Julian attended Mayfair Middle High School until the 11th grade, after which he was transferred to Somerset High. At Somerset, Julian is an involved student. He is a member of ASB's Student Senate and the Yearbook Club. Julian is a very intelligent and creative young man. This year, he designed the cover for Somerset's yearbook using a smartphone app. This was the first time this was accomplished, according to the yearbook advisor. Julian, who likes to bike ride, is also very polite, friendly, and is a very sharp dresser. You're welcome. Thank you for your service today. Congratulations.
All right, let's bring in 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, if we could please have Mayfair High School sophomore Lennox Scott come forward. Before beginning his academic journey at Mayfair, Lennox Scott attended the Intensive Learning Center. At Mayfair, he has become known for his dedication to his studies and his active participation in class discussions. Through his commitment to excellence, Lennox has accumulated an impressive 4.14 grade point average. All while undertaking the most rigorous level of coursework available and participating in ASB as well as the varsity soccer team. Lennox has been an active member of the dual language immersion program since his days at the Intensive Learning Center, showcasing his dedication to linguistic and cultural proficiency alongside his academic pursuits. Lennox is preparing for his junior year at Mayfair, and the future is very bright for Mr. Scott.
3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Lennox, for your service. If we could please have Bellflower High School senior Trista Pedersen come forward. Trista is involved in ASB, Key Club, Link Crew, the Class of 2024 Club, and previously Cheer Squad. She plans to attend Cal State Long Beach in hopes of becoming a pediatric nurse. This year, she represented her school as the Vice President of Public Relations and has enjoyed representing BHS as their board reporter. Thank you, Trista, for your service.
Three, 2, 1. Thank you.
Congratulations. Next, we'd like to recognize our student board members. At this time, we'd like to not bring forward, but bring to the middle Elise Pola Dizon. If you could step to the center while I say a few words about you. On behalf of the board, we would like to extend recognitions to Elise for her outstanding representation of Bellflower High School as a student board member. Earlier this evening, we heard about Elise's academic achievements, earning valedictorian at Bellflower with a cumulative GPA of 4.46. On behalf of the entire BUSD community, we offer our heartfelt congratulations to Elise. We are immensely proud of her and eagerly anticipate her future achievements. Thank you, Elise, and congratulations.
Three, 2, 1. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Elise. Next, if we could please have Mayfair High School Stella Lynch come forward. On behalf of the board, we would like to extend recognition to Stella Lynch for her outstanding service as student board member representing Mayfair High School. She is known for her dedication to academics and campus involvement in various clubs and athletic teams. Stella's passion for learning is evident in her approach to every subject. Through her commitment to excellence, Stella has accumulated an impressive 4.3 grade point average, all while undertaking the most rigorous level of coursework available. Now, as she prepares to embark on the next chapter of her education, Stella is set to attend UC Santa Barbara in the fall, eager to continue her pursuit of knowledge and academic success. On behalf of the entire BUSD community, we offer our heartfelt congratulations to you and thank you.
Three, two, one. Thank you.
Congratulations, Stella. Another round of applause. And if we could please have Somerset High School, Karina Velez Torres, come up, please. The board extends recognition to Karina for her exemplary service as student board member at Somerset High School. She actively advocated for student interests, notably through her involvement in the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. Her parents call her a little bundle of joy. She makes everyone smile when they have a bad day. Karina is respected by her peers and has served as ASB president. She participated in various activities, including the Key Club and gardening. Graduating early, she aims to pursue business management, aspiring to open her own floral shop after attending Long Beach Community College and transferring to UCLA. On behalf of the entire BUSD community, we offer our heartfelt congratulations and thank you for your service.
Three, two, one. Thank you.
Let's give Stella one more round of applause. And then we would like for Stella and Karina to come to the middle. We'd like a picture of all three of you together with Elise and your board.
Three, two, one. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you again. This concludes recognitions for this evening.
Thank you, Bonnie. You always do such a great job. And thank you, everyone who came out for the recognitions. That's truly what all this is about. Thank you. We will now take a 5-minute recess. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight, Bellflower Middle High School Dean of Climate and Culture, Miss Ashley Lucchesi. Lucchesi? That's it? Lucchesi? You know who you are. Where's Ashley at? We'll give an inspirational message and share the highlights of this month's boardroom bulletin board. Ashley, welcome.
Thank you. Dear members of the Board of Education, cabinet members, esteemed staff, dedicated students, and supportive community members. As we navigate the ever-evolving landscape of education, it is essential that we reaffirm our commitment to fostering a sense of belonging and purpose and adaptability within our educational community. Today, I urge every one of us to reflect on the importance of these values and their profound impact on the well-being and the success of our students. Belonging is the cornerstone of a thriving learning environment. When students, staff, and community members feel valued, respected, and included, they are empowered now and always to cultivate a culture of belonging where everyone feels seen, heard, and supported. Equally important is the concept of knowing our why, our purpose, our motivation, and our driving force. When we understand the deeper meaning behind our actions and decisions, we are better equipped to stay focused, resilient, and passionate in the pursuit of our goals. Let us encourage our students to explore their passions, discover their strengths, and pursue their dreams with unwavering determination. In our pursuit of excellence, we must never lose the sight of principles of equity, inclusion, and social justice. Every student deserves access to a high-quality education and teachers and staff that put students' interests and needs at the forefront of what they do daily. Let us actively dismantle barriers to success, challenge systems of equity, and advocate for policies and practices that promote fairness and justice for all. In closing, I'm reminded of the timeless wisdom of Mahatma Gandhi. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Let us embody this spirit of leadership and service as we work together to create a brighter and more equitable future for our students and community. Together, we have the power to make a difference and change lives every day. Let us seize this opportunity with optimism, compassion, and determination now and always. Thank you for your dedication to our educational mission. At this time, I'd like to welcome Bellflower Middle and High School's new wellness counselor, Ms. Christian Jones Manning.
Thank you. Our bulletin board, as you can see, celebrates the concept that mental health matters, aiming to educate Americans about mental health and mental health conditions. Mental Health Month, which is observed in the month of May, was started in 1949. Mental health is an important part of children's overall health and well-being that affects how children think, feel, and act. It can play an integral role in how children handle stress, relate to others, and make healthy choices. Educators are often the first to notice if a child is struggling or behaving differently. Mental health awareness training and modern school counseling practices can empower school staff with the skills to recognize and assist students experiencing challenges and better prepare them to make appropriate referrals. The presence of a multi-tier, multi-domain system of support can assist in changing perceptions about mental health, reducing the stigma associated with wellness and needs and services. This year, Bellflower Middle High School Wellness Center opened on our campus. As the wellness counselor, my role this year has been to coordinate our mental health partner services, access our school community needs, and create a comprehensive structure of support. The mission of our center is to empower our students and support our families in learning how to manage their social, emotional, and physical health while serving to support all areas of their lives that may impact their academic potential. Included in your mental health awareness tote, you'll find our annual impact report summarizing the supports that we have been able to provide this year, as well as promoting our program tagline, Be Well Bellflower. Our data-driven approach means that we're consistently accessing the needs of our school community. With this information, we innovate new services, improve our access points to make sure that all students are aware of how to seek out help should they need so. Thank you.
In our schools, the integration of climate and culture /PBIS is the utmost importance for fostering an environment where every student feels a sense of belonging. A positive climate and inclusive culture not only nurtures emotional well-being, but it also lays the foundation for academic success. When students feel accepted and supported, they're more likely to engage in learning, collaborate with peers, and excel academically. Please take some time, community members, board members, anyone that is here, to check out all the amazing things that are happening at Bellflower Middle and High School as it relates to wellness and the climate and culture of our campus. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'd like to just highlight some of the data on substance and altercations. This presentation you guys have for your access, but last year we had, so if you look at the second one, I'm just going to highlight one for now. We had 74 students that were in possession of a controlled substance. As of right now, April 24th, we've had 15. So we've had a decrease of 79.7%. In addition to that, physical altercations, we had 117 as of April 24th. This year, we had 129 as of last year, the same time. And then what have we done to support these things? Okay, our partners, LA Cotta, they have been an instrumental. She was here. She had to leave, unfortunately. LA Cotta has been huge at Bellflower Middle and High School. We have tabling events throughout the year. We have guest speakers for small focus groups in the fall for the first maybe 15 kids that were caught in the beginning of the year. We have also prevention. We've collaborated with LACO and LA Cotta through our PE department. 7th through 10th grade was all exposed to an anti-vaping curriculum through Stanford, and all of those kids were exposed to a 5-month program. It just ended this month. And then we all have to applaud, I know, Mayfair as well. There was no students sent to the RISE program this year, as opposed to last year. 67 kids were sent to GLAD, which meant they were missing close to 7 days, a 3-day suspension on top of 4 days at the Bay Center for the GLAD program. So this is a huge improvement. So thank you to the district for the support on that. We really appreciate it. We've seen lots of growth. And then lastly, what have we done for the physical altercations? There's been an ample amount of people and partners on our campus that have done a variety of groups that have made a difference, as you can see with the statistics. So we're happy to answer any questions on these groups. You know, at a later point in time, I know we're strapped for time, but there's a lot going on, and we're seeing a difference. I'm not saying it's the only thing that's making a difference, but it's definitely making an impact. Lastly, in conclusion, the collective effort of all of us here, all the educational partners, is instrumental in making a difference in all of our students' lives. By fostering an environment where every student feels a profound sense of belonging and value, we lay the groundwork for their academic success, personal growth, and wellness. Thank you for your time.
President Critchfield, can I ask a question real fast?
Sure.
Where can we get that? Is it somewhere in the presentation for us to access, or can we have it sent to us?
We can get you a copy of that. I believe it was sent over today to put on the computer, so we'll get you a copy.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you again, Ashley Luke Casey. Got it right. One heck of an inspirational message. And thank you for all you do at the campus. I know you're very, very passionate, and you're doing great work over there. So thank you for everything that you do for our kiddos. And yeah, if we can get that somehow, that'd be great. Moving on to our student board reporters. Representing Bellflower High School, Trista Peterson.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. President Critchfield, members of the board, superintendent, and honored guest. My name is Trista Peterson. I am a senior at Bellflower High School, and I thank you all for allowing me to speak here today. To start off, we have a recap of our 2024 prom. This year, we held our prom at the Hangar in Fullerton for our juniors and seniors, and we had an amazing turnout. For our 8th graders that were promoting, they attended Universal Studios last Friday, and they got to spend the entire day there celebrating all of their hard work. And currently, we are celebrating Teacher Appreciation Week. To celebrate our teachers, we have brought in free massages for our teachers, new improvements to the Teachers Lounge, and tomorrow we are treating them to a free snack cart and as well as a lunchtime trivia event. Some of our students on campus helped put together a video on our We Are Bellflower Instagram account, relaying a special message to some of their teachers to thank them for everything that they've done for them. Sorry. And then next up, we are going to have our current events. With our ASB elections taking place, we have our class president elections and our ASB cabinet elections have begun and posted on our ASB Instagram. Students will be voting for next Wednesday and Thursday for their candidates. And some of our underclassmen at Bellflower have put together a fundraiser, and they are selling senior grams. Anyone can purchase a senior gram. We have 3 different kinds shown on the screen, and they can be purchased by staff, students, and parents. They're available on the Bellflower High School website for anyone interested in purchasing a gram for their seniors to make them feel special during graduation season. And last but not least, for current, we have our AP testing taking place right now, and we are wishing all of our students the best of luck on all of their tests. Now we have our upcoming events, starting with our Senior Spirit Week taking place. As our seniors conclude their high school journey, we are having them a Spirit Week taking place next week. For the class of 2025, we have a A through G breakfast, invite only, and this breakfast is an informational opportunity to learn about what they need to do for their senior year and steps they need for the college application process. And to conclude the school year, we have our end of the year events, including grad night at Disneyland, their senior picnic trip to Knott's Berry Farm, and many more. All of our senior events have been posted on a calendar, and all seniors have access to all of your events taking place this month. And then here we have our ways to stay updated with Bellflower. I thank you all for your attention and have a wonderful night.
Great job as always, Trista. Up next, Mayfair High School's Lennox Scott.
Good evening. Oh my gosh. Good evening, President Critchfield, members of the board, superintendents. Sorry. Good evening, President Critchfield, members of the board, Superintendent Azevedo, district colleagues, and all in attendance. I want to thank you for allowing me to come here one last time to give you guys a recap about what's been going on at our campus. Now, to begin, this photo gives you a glimpse of what our 6th grade visits look like. This class of 2030 got to preview what coming to Mayfair would feel like with performances from our Mayfair cheer team, our award-winning color guard, and games displayed by our middle school ASB. Next, we are just now wrapping up our Teacher Appreciation Week, so shout out to all the teachers. And not too long ago, we hosted a lunch. Our PTSA setup crew right here in the front of our school for our teachers, providing some delicious tacos. We also, as you can see, had a photo booth session donated to us. Shout out to 562 Photo Booth. What is actually apparent here at Mayfair. Another shout out that we have is if you look to the bottom left, you can see Miss Holcomb, our Showtime and Marioners advisor, and along with her, but not presented today, Mr. Green, a high school math teacher, and Miss Skorka, our middle school English teacher, all retiring this year with almost 90 years of experience. So shout out to them and congratulations to all the teachers. Following that, we just had our Mayfair 2024 prom with our theme being Met Gala. We hosted this event at the Arctic in Anaheim to about 7:30 to 11 p.m. To your left, we have our prom king and queen, Elijah Robledo and Isabella Olmos, and right in the middle, our student representative, Miss Stella Lynch. Moreover, we also had our spring farewell assembly set up by our high school ASB dedicated to our seniors and spring sports. We had a bunch of recognitions, performances, and games, as you will be able to see in this video.
All right, as they face off in our championship round.
Round 6, the finals. Head, shoulders, knees, shoulders, head, knees, shoulders, head, shoulders, knees, shoulders, cut.
That was Sadie Sink who won the cup, Josh. Next, we got another chance to recognize our seniors during our commitment week. We started off this week with recognizing our community college and workforce commitments. Then we moved on to our Cal States and ended off with our UCs, private schools, and our out-of-states. To your bottom right, you can see our lovely counseling crew, and then to the middle, you can actually see Riley Starks, who I believe presented for you guys last month. Following that, we have our reclassification students. Now, this year, we had 48 of our English learners reclassify, and let me be the one to say that learning the language is really challenging. So it's a big accomplishment, and these students had to take a test to qualify for this, so shout out to them. Lastly, looking back, we had our CASP testing, which we have 98% plus completion, which we are excited to get our scores back. Next, we have our AP testing wrapping up this week and next week. I have my AP Spanish test tomorrow. Wish me luck. Then we have our CIF spring sports, which include baseball, tennis, who were league champions, track, swim, beach volleyball, and Unified Sports conducted their own track meet. Another recognition is we would like to recognize our swim team, who were CIF champions. And not to brag, but Mayfair has actually had CIF champions all of our seasons this year, with fall football, winter wrestling, and spring swim. Next, we have third quarter honor roll coming up, and then finally, we ended with prom. Now, looking ahead and ending off this school year, we have Senior Scholarship Awards, May 16th. We also have our Senior Legacy Walks, where seniors are going to go to their elementary schools to see where it all started, May 20th. We also have Senior Grad Night, May 28th. We also have some 8th grade events, which include 8th grade awards, May 21st, and I believe they just went to Universal. There's a color run event for our 7th grade students. And finally, we have, of course, promotion for our 8th grade students, June 5th, 2 p.m. at the Mayfair Gym. And for our seniors, commencement, or in other words, graduation, June 4th, 7 p.m. at Ranieri. Lastly, I would like to thank the board, the district, parents, teachers, our proud principal, Mr. Diaz, for allowing me to come here every month to recap to you guys what's been going on in our school. I've had a great year, and I hope I make your year great too. And then I wish you all a good luck on next school year. Thank you.
Great job, Lennox. For Somerset High School, Julian Becerra, who is replacing Sierra Ridgeway. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. President Clinchfield, members of the board, superintendent, Ms. Acevedo, members of cabinet, and to all my guests in the audience, good afternoon. My name is Julian Becerra, and it is my great pleasure to present the last presentation of this school year. So here's what we have had lately. So there hasn't been as much as there were other schools, but what we had certainly has been quite exciting for us. Pardon me. On April 22nd to the 26th, we had our Spirit Week. Monday was our Graphic Teacher Day. Tuesday was Twin Day. Wednesday, 2000s Day. Thursday, Red Shirt Day. And Friday, Favorite Artist Day. Now, because during that week we had state test, not many of us were able to do, but those of us who did or who could do it, we certainly did our best to try and took these wonderful pictures. So we appreciate those students who actually supported their show their spirit in Spirit Week. Thank you. Next up, we have a new addition to our school, pickleball. Pickleball is a very fun activity in which some of our students actually picked interest into. We have great fun, myself included, playing these games with our friends and our teachers. And those of us who don't like playing certainly enjoy watching. And finally, we have our Somerset Spring Awards. This has been a tradition that has been that we've been celebrating for over 4 decades, I think. Yeah, 4 decades, and this is to recognize some of the things that some of our students and staff, teachers, have done. Like, for instance, good attendance or Super Saints, U-turns, all those kind of stuff. And well, not many of us attended. Some of us did. We made sure that the ones who didn't attend got their recognitions in school. So we had a wonderful time there. It was all wonderful to attend. And this concludes my report. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for this presentation. I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Trista, Lennox, Julian, thank you so much. I'm sad that this is your last one with us, but so happy you're able to join us this year, and hopefully we see you again in the future. I know Lennox said he has a test tomorrow. I'm sure you both probably have some studies to do too. So if you want, feel free to hang out, but you're free to go at this time if you'd like. One more round of applause for our student reporters. It is now time for BTA, CSEA, and PTA communications. CSEA does not have a report tonight. Can BTA President Carrie McDaniel please come forward? Welcome.
Right. Thank you. Good evening. I forgot to print out my speech, so bear with me. I hate reading off my phone. I'm sorry. It's been a busy day. Good evening, Board President Critchfield, Interim Superintendent Ms. Azevedo, Board members, Cabinet, and guests. Teacher Appreciation Week is celebrated this week, and your teachers across the district were celebrated in many ways, from lunch with the PTSA, messages of appreciation from administration, a platter of cheese and crackers and brownies from the superintendent's office, and a little token of appreciation from BTA. Thank you for the support. BTA celebrated our teachers by hosting a mixer at Lucille's on Tuesday. We had a great afternoon socializing with our colleagues, and our membership engagement committee worked really hard to put the event together. We had food, raffle prizes, and dessert. I was honored to be invited to Ramona on Wednesday to witness the bestowing of the Teacher of the Year title on Eugenia Thomas. It was nice to be included in the celebration, and Eugenia was very surprised, and I really liked Brad's video, so Mr. Critchfield's video, so thank you for the invitation. We embarked tonight on the journey of bargaining with the district proposal in response to BTA's last month. Bargaining is an important event to the teachers in that we spend a lot of time gathering information and data for what is important to the teachers. Compensation and benefits are always on the top, but there is also a lot of contract language that we need to work on, and my hope is that the district comes prepared to have tough but important conversations and some give and take, because after all, that's what bargaining is about. There are many things we would like to see added or changed to improve working conditions and morale, and it is my hope that the district bargaining team also comes to the table for the teams to be reasonable and respectful to each other. I would also like to talk about collective efficacy. The idea that all of us in this room, watching at home, are working towards making BUSD better, and it takes all of us. Are we going to have differences? Of course. But it takes the common belief that it takes all of us to be great, and we are all dependent upon each other to make BUSD great. It starts with the students. If we didn't have them, none of us would be here. It also starts with building relationships and trusting that each of us in this relationship are doing the right thing for the right reasons. It takes a village to raise children, and we are that village. Thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Carrie. It is now time for PTA communication. Can we get PTA President, Ms. Linda Morgan? Come on up.
Hi. I'd actually like to call our PTA council historian up, Elaine Wilson, to do today's presentation.
Good evening. This year, Bellflower Council is celebrating their 80th anniversary with PTA. Brief history, PTA started in 1897. We joined the PTA in 1944. Bellflower Council did. There were other schools in the district that were in the PTA, but the first council was in 1944. We were part of the first district, and in 1954 they decided the first district was too big. They split it into the 33rd district, and we joined the 33rd. In 1970, we did have a joint and a final becoming the National PTA when the National Congress of Colored Parents and Teachers and National Congress of Parents and Teachers united. Our first president was Mrs. Lyle Johnson. We have her the letter acknowledging our entrance into the California State PTA. Welcoming letters from different councils. Back in the 40s, the historian reports were done by hand for the whole year. They wrote the history of what happened that year, and they covered a lot of different information. This is the newspaper article showing that the first district had split. It was a big public announcement. Bellflower Council of PTAs in 1944 had 10 schools. Most of those schools are no longer. At the height of the baby boomers, we had 18 schools. And today we are down to 12 schools. The membership in 1940 to 1950 went from 1,800 to 5,000, so it tripled in size. And as you can see, it's teachers, men and women. They definitely made a difference there. Now it's just teachers and everybody else. These are some of our schools back from the 40s and 50s. All of our past presidents and some other founding figures and pioneers in the service. Back in the 50s, it was really big for the PTA to publicize things that were going on in the papers. So there are a lot of newspaper clippings as to what goes on with the PTA. We had bylaws from 1963 that we were able to go through and see what the differences were from what they did in the 60s and what we're doing now. Oops. There were a lot of proclamations from the city of Lakewood, city of Bellflower, the state assembly, even the LA County Supervisor's Office. So recognizing the PTA for their work and doing, working with children, the Red Ribbon, just basically giving us awards as to the fact that we were out there working for the kids. In the beginning, the units also had to put out newsletters. They actually won awards for their newsletters that they put out. So this allowed the parents to know what was going on and to be able to support. Again, publicity. They won a lot of awards. They were given awards. They were also required to put out different public announcements so that the community would know what was going on. Some other activities, they sponsored different groups in the Bellflower Liberty Parade. They had a singing group that actually performed on television. They just had a lot of participation within the community. There's actually one picture there of a bond measure that they were working on. This is our activities today. We do Red Ribbon, we do Spirit, we do math programs, we do a lot of different programs for the students to enhance their education as well as to have fun with them. And then we have fun too. We were at the state convention. It was not only fun for us, but we had 3 days of sessions where we did different classes, learning how to support our children, learning how to fight for things that they require and that they need and that they deserve. And we were presented the Legacy Award for our 80 years of supporting children. And with that, Bellflower Council has put in over 29,000 hours of volunteer service, which this year, which equates to $950,000 plus dollars, so that we wanted to make sure everybody understood that there is quite a bit of time that parents, teachers, and everybody puts forth, and that we truly are giving to our students and supporting our education and our leaders in the Bellflower Unified School District.
Thank you. Thank you. I was afraid you were coming here to cash that, actually.
That would be nice. I said I could retire if I could.
Right.
President Critchfield, would you like to to come down and take a picture?
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Perfect.
Here,
Also, can we
bring
get
the check,
that? Will
too.
you send us that presentation too to just look at? Thank you.
Board, if you'll join me in front of the dais for a photo with our PTA.
Well, then you guys got to come too.
All right, on three. 1, 2, 3.
thank you, ladies, again for all that you do. And my call to action would be to the dads out there. I know you ladies put in so much work, but it would be nice to see some more involvement from the, put those guys to work. Thank you again. And is now time for Bond Oversight Committee annual presentation. Miss Linda Morgan, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm actually here on behalf of the Citizens Oversight Committee to give you guys our annual report for the 2023-24 fiscal year relating to Measure BB. So I know you guys received the report, and I know we're out of time, so I'm going to go really fast. I usually talk fast. I'm going to go even faster. So the committee was formed about 12 years ago, and current members are Mark Dameron, Gregory Jew, Rick Kempinen, Yolanda Melendez, who's here with me tonight, and Moshe Chanan. Those are the current members. So as the committee, we review, report the expenditures of Measure BB proceeds, but we do not provide direction or make decisions. All meetings have always been held open to the public, and we held our final meeting on April 18th, 2024. And that meeting was basically just to receive the audit for 2022-23. I know you guys had the presentation by Priscilla Flores from Clifton Larson Allen, so I will not go into details about what the audit stated, other than there were no reported findings this year. The report includes some standard statements of compliance. I'm going to skip past those. All our reports, including our minutes from all our meetings, are posted on the district website as well for you guys to see. So I am going to basically skip to the conclusion and state that in all significant respects, the district has properly accounted for the expenditures held in the Measure BB Bond Building Fund, and that proceeds were spent to date have only been spent for the construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation, or replacement of school facilities, including furnishing and equipping of school facilities or acquisition or lease of real property for school facilities. No proceeds were spent on teacher salaries, administrative salaries, or on operational expenses. And that pretty much concludes the report, unless you guys have any questions.
Thank you for having been on the Oversight Committee. I know you do an amazing job, and so does the rest of the committee. And I know we've received this information as we've kind of wrapped up that bond, and it's very important, the work that the Oversight Committee does, and I think you did a great job doing it. And if you have any questions for Ms. Morgan.
Okay. Well, thank you guys, and thank the staff for putting up with me and my questions for 12 years.
Your questions
been a
are
pleasure.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is now time for a superintendent's report. Ms. Acevedo.
Well, good evening again. I would like to extend a special message to our BUSD teachers. As you have heard, this week we are celebrating Teacher Appreciation Week. This is a busy time of year with special events and award ceremonies, but it's imperative that we take a moment to slow down and appreciate those around us. This week, our special thank yous are extended to the teachers working with more than our 9,800 students. Thank you for your time, your guidance, and your dedication to our community. Know that BUSD would be a different place without you. A special congratulations to our upcoming 24-25 Teacher of the Year, Miss Eugenia Thomas from Ramona Elementary. Congratulations again to her. Teachers play a vital role in shaping the minds of our students and their futures. In the upcoming weeks, we reflect on that critical influence as we see our seniors cross that stage during graduation ceremonies. Teachers, thank you again for all that you do. I look forward to celebrating our Classified Employees Week coming up soon. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Azevedo. We have one major action item this evening on item 12.1, revised calendar Board of Education meetings. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the revised Board of Education meeting calendar?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, roll call.
Student Board Member Dizon?
Aye.
Ms. Armstrong?
Aye.
Mrs. Garza?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield?
Aye. Tonight we have two public hearings. The first will be on agenda item 13.1 by trustee district election. Christine Parks of NDC. Will you come to, right? Is it Kristen or Christine?
Good evening. It's Kristen Parks.
Awesome.
I am filling in this evening for Dr. Levitt, who will be back with you for the 5th public hearing. I know you all have probably seen most of this information before, although your district is new to me tonight. You are tonight holding the 4th public hearing in this process. And there are 4 new maps that will be presented publicly for the first time this evening. You have a total of 14 trustee area maps that have been submitted. Everything, of course, is documented on your website. And always, we are reviewing the districting rules and goals. First and foremost is our federal law. It says that each trustee area must be relatively equal in population size. This is not exactly equal. There is a permissible range of deviation up to 10% total deviation. And of course, we will comply with the Federal Voting Rights Act. And similarly, we will not be engaging in any racial gerrymandering. What that would mean would be that a trustee area were drawn with race or ethnicity being the only factor considered in the construction of those boundary lines or the predominant factor. So as you're well aware, we take into account many other factors when making decisions about trustee area boundary lines. And the state of California has mandated for us a ranked order list of criteria that must be considered. As you're aware, this is new to have these criteria mandated for school districts. So really quickly, the rundown of the California state law says that each of the trustee areas must be geographically contiguous, meaning each trustee area is one complete piece with no disconnected parts. Second, trustee areas should avoid dividing neighborhoods and communities of interest. Third, trustee areas should avoid dividing cities and other places. Fourth, the boundaries should be easily identifiable. What that usually means is that we're going to follow major roads, railroads, waterways, things that are familiar to residents of the district. And finally, trustee areas should be compact, meaning that the area is not drawn in such a way that it bypasses a nearby population of people in order to include a more distant population area. So not something that is not compact often looks strange, like it's snaking around. So in order of importance, those are the 5 criteria the state of California mandates. There is also a prohibition in what we're not allowed to consider when we are looking at trustee area boundaries. We cannot adopt any boundaries that would favor, discriminate against an incumbent member of the board, a political candidate for the board, or a political party. And that prohibition has actually resulted in at least one lawsuit under the California Fair Maps Act. So we take these things very seriously. Under other principles, sometimes we look at future population growth. That is not a major consideration, however. Okay, so it's kind of like a legal disclaimer, ad where we go through really quickly. So all 14 of your maps are available online. I am going to go through them very quickly, though we can return to any of them if there are questions. So of the 14 maps that have been drawn by your consultants and submitted by members of the public, 13 of those maps are population balanced, meaning that each of the 5 trustee areas fall within that permissible deviation. So relatively equal population size in each area. There's one map that didn't achieve that. That's 108. So 108 that does not meet that federal requirement. So that's being highlighted first here. So the remaining 13 maps are population balanced. And the first 3 maps, 101, 102, and 103, were drawn by your hired consultant, National Demographics Corporation. And the one thing to notice in all 3 of these maps is that Trustee Area 5 is the same, and it includes the entire portion of Lakewood. So there's no changes to the Trustee Area 5 in these maps. And 101 and 102 split Bellflower east-west. So that's why they're grouped together here, as opposed to 103, which creates that blue trustee area, area 2 that goes all the way across the northern portion of the district. Map 113, which is one of the new maps that are being presented this evening, also it's similar in many ways to map 103. So that's why those are side by side here. They both have a trustee area 2 that includes the northern portion of your district, and they both have the same area 5, which is the Lakewood portion of the district. The other difference between 103 and 113 that may be notable is that in 103, trustee areas 1, 2, and 3 have majority Latino citizens of voting age population. And in map 113, it's areas 2 and 3 that have more than 50% Latino citizens of voting age. So that's a difference. Map 113 has a total deviation of 6.53%, so well within the permissible range, and map 103 has a total deviation of 4.86%. Okay. There are 2 more maps that you've seen before that have a similar attempt to create a northern trustee area, that blue trustee area across the top. It's map 106 and map 107. And notably, these are also maps that keep Lakewood together in one trustee area. So you can see at the bottom, that's area 5. And then the remaining maps that have been previously presented to you, 104 and 105, while they have, I believe, the lowest total deviation, meaning you can see that the population is very evenly divided among trustee areas, both of these maps do divide Lakewood. And the reason we're highlighting that, of course, is because that is on that list of criteria mandated by the state of California, that there are minimal divisions to cities and census-designated places. And if any of our clients do choose to move forward with a map that does divide a city or a census place, we would encourage them to strongly document a reason for that includes some of the more higher priority criteria. So, for instance, if you notice that in the criteria, minimizing the division of neighborhoods and communities of interest was higher than cities and places. So if you were to divide a city or a place, you would usually say the reason for that is because we're keeping a neighborhood or a community together. So that's a little bit of the why we're repeating all of this is back to the legal criteria. And finally, map 109 and I don't know if this is finally. You have seen map 109 and 110 before. And again, they also divide Lakewood. And, you know, when you look at why these maps are drawn in this way, it's obviously following major roads through your district. So there is a logic behind it. Although that following a major road is a lower ranked criteria per the state of California. So the remaining new maps, so these are the 3 other new maps, 111, 112, and 114, also divide that Lakewood portion. I think as it's becoming very clear to you, there's only so many ways that you can cut up the pie of the district into trustee areas. So we're confident that you have good options ahead of you as you come to the conclusion of this process. Again, for members of the public that want to participate or comment, information is available on the district website. And I'm happy to answer any questions from members of the board if there are any regarding the process or the 4 new maps presented this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Parks. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing open. Would anyone from the public like to speak on this item? Nope. Is there any discussion from the board? Oh, my bad. Ms. Stewart, sorry.
Mr. President, it would be appropriate to close public comment and then continue with board discussion.
Okay.
I apologize. I meant public hearing.
It's backwards on here. So close the public hearing, then have the discussion? Okay. I motion to close the public hearing. Ms. Stewart.
I was just wondering, is this the last chance? There's no more submitting maps. These are the final maps that we choose, just for clarification.
Yes, this is an important clarification, and thank you to members of the public that have submitted maps. You certainly have a good array of options before you, but if members of the public were to submit additional maps, we would receive them, though it would be extremely difficult to process them and get them posted online 7 days prior to the May 23rd hearing, which is your next public hearing. So certainly what we recommend for the public to do now, instead of submitting new maps, is to submit comments on the existing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Student board member.
Thank you, President Crutchfield. Good evening, Ms. Kristen or Ms. Park. Which do you prefer?
You're good.
Okay. So this is my first time seeing this information in these maps because we rotate on a monthly basis. So apologies for my questions. But on California's criteria for organizing these districts and drawing the boundaries between them, I saw that keeping communities of interest together is the second most important factor, and specifically socioeconomic status. I was just wondering why there is an importance. Is it of keeping people of similar socioeconomic status within the same district? And if so, why?
So it's actually a fascinating question that you raise, and it really depends on the jurisdiction. So in some school districts, they may want to keep similar types of people that identify as a community together in one trustee area. For instance, if there's a lot of, let's say, Mandarin language speaking apartment dwellers, right? And they may want to stay together in order to elect a member of the board to represent their community. However, sometimes we see the opposite. So, meaning that a community may be so large that it doesn't want to just be kept within one trustee area. It may want the ability to elect trustees in multiple areas. So it may want to be divided. So I think the caveat then to criterion number 2 is if the neighborhood or community wishes to be kept together, unified within one area.
I see.
And you can see, as I sort of give examples, how a neighborhood or a community may differ from the boundaries of a city or place.
Okay. Thank you for that. Because I was just considering, I mean, when it comes to voting, and I guess in an ideal scenario, you would have a variety of perspectives, a variety of communities, so that a vote for something isn't biased towards one specific group. So that's what I was wondering about. In this scenario, is that what we're trying to avoid, or just that's just how it so happens with these California criteria?
Well, we never try to explain why the California legislature legislates as they do. However, what's happening here is that this is criteria that has been adopted for cities, counties, and now has been extended to school districts and special districts in the state of California. So we do have experience talking about neighborhoods and communities of interest. And the goal is fairness, right? The whole idea behind switching from at-large elections to by-district elections is the idea to give different communities that are in geographically different parts of a district representation. So whether those geographic areas correlate to different perspectives or not really depends on the place. But a lot of times what happens after you make this transition to trustee areas is you will perhaps have a geographic area that maybe had never elected a member of the board before and now has the opportunity to do so.
Okay. Thank you. And then one final thing. I believe it was map 102. Oh, sorry. Oh, never mind. Map 113, I think, where you mentioned that area number 2 and area number 3 were majority for people of age of Latino origin. Is that correct?
Yes. So, you're asking all of these really great questions. So I'm ready to hire you. But
please do. Thanks.
So I didn't mention this, but one of the things that we look at when we're looking at compliance with the Federal Voting Rights Act is we look at not just the total population. I'm trying to find where 113 is here. There it is. We look at the citizen voting age population because that's our best data estimate for likely voters. And so because the Federal Voting Rights Act is concerned with voters and making sure that there's no discrimination against voters, we look at that. What we're looking at is Census Bureau data on the 18 plus Hispanic Latino citizens. So in all of these maps, there's 2 trustee areas or 3 trustee areas that have a Latino citizen voting age population majority. And so that is reflective of, I believe, I don't have it right in front of me, but for your entire district, I think it is 40, it's 46% maybe Latino citizens of voting age population. So that is the largest racial ethnic, or that's the largest ethnic group in the district. And if you want to go back and look at previous presentations, we do also have maps that show where those voters are located within the district, and they are primarily in the northern section of the district.
Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you, Student Board Member Dasan. Great questions as always. Following up on one of those great questions, when you were speaking about communities of interest that may be so large that they want to stay together or they want to separate, is that just for communities of interest, or does that also for cities, or is the cities one? Where does that fall?
Yeah. So. Interestingly, that the cities, whether or not they're divided, usually has to do with population, right? So when we look at Bellflower, it's too large to be one trustee area, right? Bellflower has to be divided here. Lakewood is just, I think, a few hundred under the ideal trustee area size. So it makes sense for that Lakewood portion to not be divided. It's interesting because that's actually new criteria from the state. We didn't have that for the 2020 redistricting.
Right.
We didn't have an explicit, we only had that for counties trying to keep cities together. And it actually, for some of the counties we worked with, that was, you had whichever city was being divided, complaining and saying, we don't want to be the one city that's being divided, right?
Right. So when you're going, it's only, you go based off registered voters, right? Across the board?
So when we're looking at the population size of the trustee area, we actually look at every single person counted in the 2020 census.
Okay.
When we're looking at Federal Voting Rights Act issues, we look at the eligible voter population, which is an estimate.
Right. And at no point, is it like high propensity or like a higher propensity voters? It's just anybody of voting age? Okay.
Yep, exactly. Cool. So what we do provide for our clients, so for each of these maps, we do provide for you a breakdown by trustee area of the registered voters based on whatever the previous election cycles were. That's primarily just to highlight in some communities we have a huge difference in the number of
engagement.
Yeah, and whether or not there's high numbers of non-naturalized immigrants.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? No? Thank you again for the presentation and answering all those questions.
Of course, I wish you good luck in this process.
Thank you. It is time for our second public hearing on item 13.2, District's initial proposal to the Bellflower Teachers Association. Is there a presentation or no? At this time, I declare the public hearing open. Would anyone from the public like to speak on this item? No? Hearing none, I move to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion from the board? Hearing none, do we have any items to withhold from the consent agenda this evening? Colleagues, nope. All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Dizan?
Aye.
Ms. Armstrong?
Aye.
Mrs. Garza?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield?
Aye. All right, it is now time for Board of Education members and student board member communication and reports. Let's begin with Board Member Armstrong.
Okay, I can write my notes then, real quick.
We'll start with Student Board Member Desan, and then we'll come over to you, Ms. Armstrong.
Could I also be given time before I speak?
What is going on right now?
Well, it's my final one, so.
That's okay. I mean, if we have nothing to report, remember, it's optional.
No, I do, but.
Well, you're up.
Okay.
You got it.
So, I've been kind of getting questions all day asking, well, what are you going to say for your last meeting? And that didn't really cross my mind because I had 2 exams these last 2 days and then one on Monday. But a lot of goodbyes are happening. A lot of final sort of relationships and memories with people are being made. And a lot of new things are beginning for the people in my life, including myself as well. But I think the one word that has kind of been shining through a lot for me lately has been legacy. I've had a lot of time, or I've been giving a lot of time lately to think about the sort of legacy that I will leave or that I would want to leave here since I've been in this district for so long. If you were to ask my junior self last year, where did she think she would be by senior year, I think she would have told you she would have been asleep. I would have really loved to have caught up on some sleep after my junior year. But my senior year was filled with so many unexpected blessings and so many things that I didn't think I would get to be grateful for. And in my last year of high school, I really didn't think that I would get to do so much. So one of those things is being here in front of all of you tonight and all of the nights prior that I've gotten the honor and privilege to represent my school as a student board member. My school, my teachers, and this district overall has done a lot for me. As when I first came to the United States, I really didn't expect any of this. I didn't know how my life would go, and there were a lot of uncertainties coming my way, but I think one of the things that I'm really, really proud of that I want to report today, because this is also part of my report. So I'm Filipino. I think I mentioned that at a previous board meeting, and something that a friend told me before I left was to never forget what it means to be Filipino. And I think with everything I did through my school's Filipino Club and this more recent project that I was able to participate in, I hope I embodied that. So to my friends all the way back home, that was for you. But recently, I got to edit, translate, and write lines in Tagalog for a Filipino cultural night for Cal State Fullerton. And it was one of, if not the only sold out Filipino cultural night within this area out of all of the universities. And they were able to gross over $10,000 from that one night. And they're donating part of that money to, I'm blanking on the I think Houses for Juanita, which is to help some homeless individuals within our community. So I'm really proud that I got to be part of that project. And I think it's a culmination of a lot of what I wish to do for my community all this time. This year I got to be in our swim team. I got to be our varsity girls captain to my swim team. Hi. Sorry I skipped practice for this meeting, but you know. But I was also a swimmer before I came to this country, and I had to stop for many years because, you know, life, it happens. But I'm so glad and I'm so thankful that I got to be part of that amazing group of people with some amazing coaches. And I got to swim with some amazing swimmers. Those Mayfair girls, they were amazing every single night, or every single time that we competed with each other. So I'm really grateful for that. And lastly, just a few events have been happening at my school, with my friends, with my relationships, and I think what I would want to leave for whoever comes after me in this position, because I know they're going to be starting elections next week, so good luck to them. But I'm telling you to be brave, be daring, be authentic, but most importantly, be kind. Not only to yourself, but to everyone that you're serving here tonight, every single night that you're here. be kind to the people that you're working for and the people you're representing. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Well said. Was that you just do that on the fly? Great job. And it's been an honor to serve with you on the board. You've done a great job, and you have a very bright future. Ms. Armstrong.
Why, thank you. I didn't know I was going to speak tonight, but anyway, wow, I am so very proud of her. I can't do anything but wish you the best in your future, whatever you decide to do. Oh my goodness, just know Bellflower is always here. We are your home. So just remember that. You can ask them for help. Me too. So anyway, I've been busy. I've been still busy with the LA County School Trustees Association. We again, like many other organizations and associations, we've had our last meeting and held elections for the upcoming year, and LOXTA is hoping to continue to provide workshop and get information and resources out to the districts. A lot of issues are coming up, so they're hoping to continue to get information to the different districts. I did attend a spring mixer with the Asian Pacific Islander School Board Associations. Within CSBA, they have all these sub, associations, and it's nice to meet on a more intimate level. And so I attended a few mixers with the Asian Pacific Islander School Board Association. And as a mother and having a child in the school, they just had prom, so I was busy dealing with prom for my daughter. I went to the open house at Pyle and Baxter, and I ran into Dr. Sue, and I ran into President Critchfield at Mayfair. I mean, boy, I tell you, we have fun at Mayfair, but I had to go. Those children were really having a great time partying and karaokeing, and they had good food. Oh my goodness, it was so much fun. I just wish I could have enjoyed it even more. Again, you guys know I am a teacher also, so I'm dealing with the same thing, all the end of the year requirements, and oh my goodness, I am surviving. We have about 3 more weeks left, and summertime. But what I am doing is I am looking forward to our commencement exercises. I really love, seeing the excitement in our students' faces. Some of them they're so excited about what's coming next in their life, and I really do enjoy that. So, awards night and commencement exercises, I'm waiting for that. So that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. And let's see who I got next. Board Clerk Myra Garza, you're up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, President Critchfield. I want to apologize to, first of all, the whole district. I was not able to get out to the open houses this year. A couple of things happened at home that I needed to address. I know. So thank you for your patience and your understanding. And also, Somerset High School, I was supposed to have been at your banquet yesterday, but again, this time I got sick. And so I was not able to attend, but I promise I will make it around next year. I know that I was well represented by my board colleagues. So I also want to say happy belated Teachers Appreciation Day and Ministers Day. I think our clerical staff as well. We had a whole slew of appreciations this month. So also on PTA, congratulations on your 80th birthday. That is an accomplishment. 80 years, wow. I can only wish that I get to 80 myself someday. and your legacy award. It was really nice seeing your pictures and seeing your history, because I myself didn't know that before. So thank you so much for educating me. I also want to say that I actually had a meeting with Ali Hernandez from the Metropolitan Water District. I'm sorry, wrong person. Ali Hernandez from Water Replenishment District. There's so many acronyms. And I spoke to her, and she was very, very interested to talk to our staff and see how we can partner with them and our teachers perhaps, and maybe giving us some grants as to how to get our kids to go and see what they're doing with water and how we can be better advocates of water. Let's see. So I will pass on that information to you. I also was able to attend the CFGC Children's Benefit Dinner on May 2nd, and there I also met someone that I passed on the information already to Ms. Carter, and hopefully they're also interested in partnering with us and our kids, high school students, to maybe give them some internships with that new plant over in Paramount, who is actually making, I think it's beef fat, you said, Ms. Acevedo?
They're taking animal fat and turning it into jet fuel.
Yes.
So very interesting.
Very, very interesting. I'm pretty sure that will be helpful for, everyone in the future someday. And also very exciting for our students. Hopefully that will turn out to a prosperous, avenue for our kids. And finally, I also was able to attend the Metropolitan Water District Inspection Trip State Water Project. It was actually all in Spanish, and I was amazed, floored by how our water comes down to us, and also got to talk to the people that make that happen. One of the young gentlemen, he actually came from Mexico, and he's an engineer, a tachometry engineer or something like that. I didn't even know what that was, but I looked it up, and he did a lot of science in his educational career. But I also asked him if he had any internships for our kids, and they said that they were building a new plant, and so they're always welcoming students and new engineers who are interested in creating and building there's this sieve, huge, immense sieve that our water goes through to clean it but not kill the fish. So I'm pretty sure that he will do a much better job of explaining that than I will. So I'm really excited because I know that we have, students who may be interested in something like that. And, so I will hand that over to you as well. And finally, congratulations to Teacher of the Year, Eugenia Thomas. Thank you for everything you do. That work as teachers never stops. Even when you're at home, you're constantly thinking about it. And just want to extend that appreciation to all teachers in our district. And I believe I'm done.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Vice President Stewart, all you.
Thank you, President Critchfield. Good evening. So we haven't had a board report in like a month, so this is going to be long. I'm going to try to go as quickly as I can. But first, I want to start with giving out some special shout-outs and acknowledgments. First off, my dad watches every once in a while, but today's his birthday, so if you're watching, happy birthday on your very special day. Second, I want to say congrats to Mayfair's swimming team on their CIF championship. I think we talk a lot about ADA and getting kids over here, and I promise you sports can get some kids over here. They can, because we have some amazing sports sports in this district. Next, I wanted to say how proud I am of the Bellflower High School baseball team on their league championship. Again, congrats to Coach Tripp and his staff. I just really want to say congrats to all the players who made all league: Gavin Sanchez, Anthony Garcia, JJ Cadenas, Isaac Lacey, and Ripken Bermasco. Ripken, which is the perfect baseball name, is actually the son of a former Bellflower softball alum, my friend Tracy. And so I'm really excited that we kept the alumni family together, and he's here at Bellflower. And so obviously I talk a lot about that. I want to keep things in the family, so I'm glad that he's here. And a huge congrats. And I'm so proud of these two young men. They were here. I can't tell you how proud I am. They're both sophomores. Isaiah Lopez, he won MVP this year, and Anthony Herrera, he won pitcher MVP. Both of them were former students at my middle school in Paramount, and that's what I'm saying. They came over here to Bellflower because we have an amazing baseball team. So I just was really excited to see them. I've known Anthony and his family for 20 years. I remember when he was born. That's how long I've known him. And again, I just really love the family concept of this community. It's so important to me, so I'm just really excited and so happy that they're here, and congratulations. Lastly, I want to thank Jason Miller, our former Bellflower High School football coach. The things that he and his brother Keith did in the last 2 years are phenomenal. They made history. They made history in our district, and I'm sad, but I'm really excited that he's going to be taking the head coaching job at Lutzinger High School. I'm sad, but it's his alumni. It's his dream job, and I totally understand that. I get it. There's nothing like being part of your alumni. Being here in BUSD for me has been a dream come true, so I get it. And so I just want to thank him for what he did do in the last 2 years and wish him nothing but the best, as we all should. Okay, so for my events, on the 14th, I went to the Mayfair High School football banquet, another CIF champion. Great banquet. Coach Bedell, man, he was on time management. He had it down, right? We were all there. He had it down in like an hour. It was so quick. It was so amazing, and it was just a beautiful banquet. On April 18th, I stopped by the Global Policy Revisions. I just want to thank again Mrs. Acevedo, Mrs. Holguin, Mrs. Carter, Mrs. Stanley, and all of the district employees that put so much work into this process. It was craziness, and you guys did so much work, and we just appreciate you all so much. Thank you for doing just such tedious but important work. We really thank you. On April 19th, I met with President Critchfield and Mrs. Acevedo. I attended the PTA Honorary Service Awards. Thank you again, PTA, President Morgan, the council members and volunteers. I appreciate you all so much, and this was just a gorgeous and humbling event. We celebrated so many great volunteers, and they just do so much without recognition. And I just learned about 80 years, so thank you so much. That was pretty awesome. And just, you guys do nothing. You do it with nothing asked for in return. Sorry. And so just in my opinion, it's just really honorable. And again, thank you so much for everything you guys do. On April 22nd, I met with our CSCA president, Michelle Cuellar, and our CSCA representative. We just continue to collaborate, and I thank them for helping me understand their current positives, their concerns, especially things that happened prior to us being on the board. It's just a great learning process working with them, and I appreciate their dedication to our classified employees. On April 27th, I attended the Miss Teen Bellflower pageant. Congrats to the queens and princesses that were crowned. I appreciate these young women and all of the community work they do for us. They are beautiful inside and out, and I'm just really proud of them. They do so much, and they take on a lot, so again, congratulations to them. On April 29th, I had another meeting with our superintendent and President Critchfield. On May 7th, I attended the Cal Apps meeting. We recognized students who received awards and seniors who have completed a pathway. We even had several students complete 2 pathways, which is remarkable. And our parents and our community were so proud, as were our Cal Apps board. So congratulations to all the winners. That same night, President Critchfield and I also stopped by very briefly, unfortunately, to the PTA Historian Mixer. I wish we could have stayed longer, but obviously we had another meeting to go to. But the few presentations that we did see were awesome, and there were so many people that attended. You guys just do such a great job, and I love attending your events. And last, on May 8th, I attended the Special Education Ad Hoc meeting with my colleague, Dr. El Hassan. This was just really informative, and I appreciate all the work the committee is putting into making our SPED department better and better, looking at the FICMAT, looking at how we can collaborate and make things better. We have work work to do, and we all know that, but the things they have already implemented are great, and I'm looking forward to them making even more changes. So I appreciate Mrs. Holguin and the other staff members for their dedication to that department. And happy Teachers Appreciation Day. I know it's been a long week, and I don't know about you guys. I have 19 days left. I'm not counting, but I have 19 days left. So I hope your last days are amazing, and you guys have a great week. You guys are just awesome. So thank you.
That was fun. Thank you, Vice President Stewart. So I'm not going to talk that fast. And a lot of the events are already covered, so I'm going to kind of go through this. One thing I do want to do when we do our board reports is, and I think we've all done it, is talk about the committees that are formed, because it's very easy to form a committee in public, but then it's like, well, what happened with that, right? So there's one, the BUSD Foundation committee that was formed with Vice President Stewart and I, and I, for one, still believe that creation of that foundation is something that will benefit our students and programs in the future. And as things develop from that, I'll be able to report out more. But I at least want to let you know that's still alive and well, and I'll report on that in future. Also, Vice President Stewart and I also sit on the CalAPS board, and we had our student recognitions, and it is just so amazing, the programs that we have going over there. And just shout out to Arlene Whitney, CEO of CalAPS. She is doing great work. She had big shoes to fill, but she's doing a great job. And just doing recognitions, even like tonight. I think it really is a reminder of why we do all the things that we do, and why PTA does what they do, and BTA, and how we're all in it together for them. So it means a lot to me. Events, Somerset Senior Awards. I'm really proud of those students, and because I was never an academically inclined young lad, but those kids, you could see when kids overcome that adversity, it's amazing to see them shine. And the ones that were recognized, I know that they're all going to do really great things. And I don't know, I have a real soft spot for those kids, because I was one of them. And life can hit you pretty hard and pretty fast after high school. And I think those kids are going to do really well, because I think they've had to overcome that adversity, and they're tough. The all district vocal concert, didn't get to stay too long at that, but it was impressive. Like, I don't know if any of you heard and saw that, but they were impressive as performers, but also that crowd, like the community in that building. It was probably the biggest and maybe most well-attended event I'd seen there, and it was just electric. So much energy, and that was awesome. Teacher of the Year, Miss Eugenia Thomas, thank you for putting that on, and also the hiding her family around the corner, and like the look on her face when that was a nice touch. And I just want to say thank you for putting that on for her and recognizing her. I could tell it meant a lot to her, and it was an honor to be there with staff to recognize her. Unified Banquet, Miss Armstrong's not wrong. They know how to party. Those events are the best events, and I have a soft spot there too. And I always walk away from those events just feeling very fulfilled and reminded of how much work we have to do and need to do to serve our most vulnerable students. They're just such a blast every single time. Open houses, I got to wear my two hats as a dad and board member. That's always fun, but it's great to see all the work, and also the work that's done in the classroom, the things that are not just teaching and grading papers. I mean, when some of those teachers do their rooms just to present to the parents, it's a lot of work, a whole lot of work. And I recognize that, and I think it matters because it's showing the parents that you really care, and it's also giving, supporting the students and showing off all their good work too. So I think it means a lot. I also got to speak at the Orange County School of Arts, so it's a little bit outside, but I got to talk to a group of seniors there. The North Long Beach Higher Education Center, I went there, so they're going to be providing resources and free classes to the community in North Long Beach. Met with PTA President Carrie McDaniel. I always appreciate the communication and relationship, so thank you. And also the Walk for Kids. We had a group for the Walk for Kids. and supporting that charity means a lot to me and my family and my daughter. And we had some staff and teachers from the district come out and support too. And again, just another reminder of what community means and why we're all doing the work that we do. So it's been a busy month, and I have a weird feeling the next few weeks are going to be busy too. So going to try to keep up with Miss Stewart and attend as many events as I can as well, because I love what we do here. So thank all my colleagues for all the work that you do and all the events you attend. And any questions on information items? No? And if there's no objection, this meeting is now adjourned at 8:35 until the regular board meeting to be held on Thursday, May 23rd, 2024.